Naruto God Level System, Chapter 761 to 780. Chapter 761 By the coffee shop downstairs in Maori. Dr. Lee, why do you want me to stay at Xiaolan's house? Conan took Dr. Lee aside and asked in a low voice. Conan, I'm helping you. Don't you want to investigate the black organization? It just so happens that Xiaolan's father is a detective, so maybe he can help you discover the black organization. However, if I expose myself, with the style of that organization, it may affect Xiaolan. Conan shook his head and said. Although they had only had one contact with the organization in black, judging from the fact that they stunned themselves and gave themselves unknown drugs, they knew that they were ruthless guys, and they should be a huge organization. You are smaller now, so you shouldn't be exposed. This is also the best way. Dr. A. Lee said. Conan nodded resignedly. This is not bad. Now that he has become smaller, it must be very troublesome to investigate the black organization by himself. However, Xiaolan's father, Maori Xiaogoro, also understands that the unreliable uncle can really help. Dr. Lee came over with Conan. Xiaolan and Sonoko took 2 steps back and looked at Conan vigilantly. Conan wants to cry very much. He was very cute when he was a child. To be watched with vigilant eyes by 2 women, it's all to blame Hugo-chan. Xiaolan, how did you decide? He is very pitiful. Xiaolan looked at Conan and finally nodded, agreeing that Conan would stay in her home. After walking out of Kudo Shinichi's house, Dr. Agasa returned to his home. Chen glanced at Conan, and then said, this kid can't worry about it. Xiaolan, you should take good care of him and don't let him harm others. Well, I must educate him well, so that he will not become a big pervert in the future. Xiaolan understood the wrong Chen's meaning. Chen wanted to say that this guy is a god of death, and let Xiaolan pay attention to wherever he goes. Where am I a pervert? This guy framed me. Damn guy, you are the pervert. Conan wanted to bite someone angrily. That's right, kid, I'm a pervert. Chen lowered his head and patted Conan's head. Damn, it's so cool to be slapped on the head. Conan smoked angrily. No one admits that he is a pervert. Xiaolan looked at Chen speechlessly. The nature of a man is sex. Not to mention everyone is like this, at least most of them are like this. Chen got up and said with a smile. Xiaolan found that she couldn't refute. Thinking about her father, she couldn't walk when she saw a beautiful woman, a series of shameful behaviors, sometimes she felt ashamed. But this little devil is really a scourge. I'm a servant, so I remind you. Chen looked at Conan and said. I'll go back first, Yuanzi, send Xiaolan back. Chen waved his hand, and then his back slowly disappeared into the night. I feel like Chen is very mysterious. There is an attractive magic. Xiaolan said looking at Chen's back. Even the back is so handsome. Yuanzi's eyes turned into peach hearts, and she didn't hear Xiaolan's words at all, leaving Xiaolan speechless. Xiaolan, what are you looking at? Conan asked jealously. Conan, please call Sister Xiaolan, don't be so rude, okay? Study hard in the future, and don't be like my father. Xiaolan educated Conan. Sonoko sent Xiaolan and Conan home, but as soon as they returned, they encountered a kidnapping incident. Conan was a veritable god of plague. Especially after joining forces with Maori Kogoro, they can be called the duo of the gods of plague, where accidents happen wherever they go. The next day, Chen left the house early in the morning and went to buy a car, because Chen felt that it was inconvenient to not have a car, so he couldn't fly around. In this ordinary world, if Chen is flying around, he will be famous, and it is estimated that the next day there will be news of Japan's surprise appearance of Superman. The requirements for the car Zichen are not high, as long as you can walk. After all, no matter how fast the car is, it can't run as fast as Chen. Can you expect Chen to have any interest in the car? Directly threw the money and drove the car away immediately, and then drove to the Maori Detective Agency. The Maori Detective Agency is on the 2nd floor, and the 1st floor is Poro Cafe. Chen bought Poro Cafe directly. Anyway, he has money. As for why I bought this place, Of course, it is closer to the Maori Detective Agency, which is more conducive to contacting the plot. I didn't expect the new boss to be so young. But shouldn't the boss drive me away? Azusa Inomoto asked Chen. No, just stay and continue to be a waiter, Chen said with a glance at Inomoto Azusa. Really? Then thank you, boss. Inomoto Azusa said with a smile. It would be good to change to a handsome guy to be the boss, but I don't know if the boss will make unspoken rules. If you want unspoken rules, what will they do? Is it surrender? Or surrender? So tangled. Then boss, are you going to open another store, or continue to open a coffee shop? Azusa Inomoto asked. Continue to open a coffee shop. Chen thought about it and said, it doesn't really matter what kind of shop you open anyway. He bought it here for better access to the plot. Hey, why is Chen here? When Shaolin was shopping, she saw Chen in the coffee shop. Pushing open the door and walking in, Shaolin looked at Chen and said, Chen, it's really you. I thought I was mistaken. Hello, Miss Inomoto. It turned out to be Shaolin. Inomoto Z smiled at Shaolin, because Shaolin lives there, so Inomoto Z is very familiar with Shaolin, especially Maori Kogoro often comes here for drinks. You know the boss? Inomoto Azusa asked curiously. Boss? Chen, how did you become the boss? Because it's close to where you live, I bought it just to see you more. Chen looked at Shaolin with an affectionate expression on his face. Shaolin's face was yuhi, and she said angrily, if you talk like this, I will ignore you. Okay, I bought this place because I had a hunch that a lot of interesting things were going to happen. Chen said with a smile. Interesting thing? Shaolin asked, tilting her head. At this time, Shaolin's appearance was really cute, and Chen couldn't help pinching Shaolin's face. Shaolin's face was yuhi, and she took a few steps back. It was the first time she was pinched by a man. Could it be that Shaolin, didn't you encounter anything interesting last night? Chen asked Shaolin. Shaolin suddenly remembered what happened yesterday. Something did happen yesterday. A little girl was kidnapped. Her father got a lot of money because of yesterday's entrustment. Chen, how did you know? Shaolin asked curiously. Didn't I tell you? I'm a servant master. I can predict the profit. Chen said with a smile. Shaolin believed it a little. Chen, I'm going to cook. Have you eaten yet? Would you like to come to my house for dinner? Shaolin shook the ingredients in her hand and asked. Okay, I just want to taste Shaolin's cooking skills. There are fewer and fewer girls who know how to cook. Chen nodded and followed Shaolin to the Maori Detective Agency. Chapter 762 Eat at Maori. Why are you here? Conan looked at Chen, who came back with Shaolin, with a bad look in his eyes. Oh Tilda, little Conan, you don't seem to welcome me too much, Chen said with a smile. Conan, don't be so rude, hurry up and call brother Chen. Shaolin educated Conan. I think it's better to avoid it, Chen said directly. He knew that Conan was Kudo Shinichi, and asked him to call his brother in a milky voice. Chen felt that he could be disgusted to death. Shaolan, who is this guy? He looks as handsome as me. Maori Kogoro raised his head and said boldly. Shaolan covered her face, feeling a burst of shame. This is my classmate Hyuga Chen. Dad, don't embarrass me by talking nonsense. Shaolan said angrily. What? Maori Kogoro pouted, and then asked, Boy, are you going to pursue my Shaolin? Hearing the words, Conan pricked up his ears and listened intently. Did this guy have any intentions for Shaolin? Forget it, Chen said after sitting down. What? Let me tell you, elder sister Shaolin belongs to brother Shini. Conan jumped up and frowned. The detective kid. Humph. I think this kid is much better than the detective kid. After mentioning Kudo Shinichi, Mori Kogoro had a look of disdain on his face, and he didn't like Kudo Shinichi, because that guy stole all his limelight. People only know about high school detectives, and they don't know about him, Kogoro Mori. It's abominable. What's wrong with brother Shini? He is handsome and smart. He often assists the police in solving cases. Conan defended himself dissatisfied. Humph. Come on. You kid, don't speak for that detective kid. I won't hand my daughter over to that kind of guy. I don't want my daughter to be a widow in the future. Kogoro Mori said. As for what Kudo Shinichi did, Mori Kogoro knew Akatsuki a little bit. Wherever there was danger, where he ran, Mori Kogoro was worried about him. Especially now that there is no movement, Shaolin worries that if Kudo Shinichi appears in front of him, he will definitely punch him hard. Mori Kogoro, who became more and more angry, punched Conan on the head. It hurts. Conan covered his head and wept silently. He didn't know how many times he had been punched by Kogoro Mori's fist. Tragic Conan. As long as Mori Kogoro is in a bad mood, he will punch him and completely become a punching bag for Mori Kogoro. By the way, boy, do you drink? Kogoro Mori asked Chen. This guy, Kogoro Mori, is addicted to alcohol, and he also likes to bet on horses and play with small steel balls. Dad, don't instigate people to drink. Mao Lilan stuck his head out of the kitchen and stared at Mori Kogoro dissatisfied. I'll drink some, you wait, I'll go downstairs to get some wine. Chen stood up and said with a smile. Go downstairs. Mori Kogoro and Conan looked at Chen suspiciously. The coffee shop below has been bought by me. If Detective Mori is free, you can go down there and drink for free. Chen said with a smile, and looked at Conan specially. Although it is a coffee shop, in fact, the coffee shop below is also equivalent to an izakaya, and also provides drinks and dishes. Conan's face became extremely wonderful. This guy actually bought the store below. What's the purpose? Is he trying to get close to Shaolin, or is he a member of the black organization and has already suspected me? At this time, Conan was suspicious, and everyone felt that he was a member of the black organization. Really? That's great, I'll definitely visit in the future, ahahaha. Kogoro Mori revealed his signature laugh when he heard that there was a free drink. Conan glanced at Mori Kogoro. Why is this guy so unreliable? Can he really find the traces of the black organization? After Chen went down, he took 2 bottles of good wine and walked up. After seeing it, Kogoro Mori happily took it, opened it, poured himself a glass, and drank it. Sure enough, it's a good wine. I must have a good drink today, Kogoro Mori said with a big smile. In normal times, Shaolin is very strict, but this time when Chen is here, she should give her father face instead of talking about him. While eating, Shaolin looked at Mori Kogoro who was drinking heavily, and glared at him secretly, but Mori Kogoro directly ignored it. Shaolin, your cooking skills are very good. If you marry you, you will be blessed. Chen looked at Shaolin and said. I feel that my cooking skills are still far from good. Chen, please stop complimenting me. Shaolin Chai Yuhi. The Vinegar King next to him kept biting his chopsticks in a fit of rage, and the chopsticks were about to be bitten off by him. He was really pissed off. Of course, no one can match Shaolin's cooking skills. Mori Kogoro, who was drinking, said with a big smile. Boy, if you want to pursue my daughter, I am very optimistic about you. Mori Kogoro said to Chen. Just a few bottles of wine made Mori Kogoro's affection for Chen soared. Dad, what nonsense are you talking about? That's right, Uncle is talking nonsense again. Sister Shaolin and Brother Xinyi are the best match, Conan said, looking at Shaolin expectantly. Shaolin's face froze. The new one disappeared without a trace yesterday, and she didn't contact herself today. She didn't know what she was doing. Shaolin was a little angry. Don't mention that detective stinky brat. I get angry when I hear his name. Kogoro Mori looked unhappy. If it wasn't for that high school detective, my business would definitely be hundreds of times better. That's Uncle, you are not as good as the new brother. Because you are not as good as the new brother, Conan said proudly. Chen glanced at Conan. This guy killed himself. Low emotional intelligence is not without reason. At such a time, do you want a wave of downfall? Conan, how can you say that in 1.8? Although Kudo Shinichi is really good, Detective Mori is still a senior, he still has a lot to learn. Chen said. Isn't there an old saying in China, that there is no precedence in learning, and the master is the teacher. What I said is the truth. Conan, you are going too far. Xiaolan said angrily. Although Xiaolan also knows what her father is like, it doesn't mean that she allows others to say that her father is not good. Mori Kogoro was more direct, punched Conan on the head with a fist, and said angrily, "You mean that stinky brat, can you be my teacher?" Chen looked at Conan without the slightest sympathy. He was killing himself. He successfully used Conan's identity to bring a wave of ill will to his identity as Kudo Shinichi. Conan touched his head, looked at Xiaolan and Mori Kogoro who were angry, and did not dare to speak. Chapter 763, A Request from Yoko Okino. Ding dong. Is anyone coming? Xiaolan stood up and looked at the door. Who the hell is it? I don't know if today is a public holiday. It affects my interest in drinking. Xiaolan, you just blast it out. Mori Kogoro said unhappily. Dad, it's because of you that the detective agency's business is so bad. Xiaolan glared at Mori Kogoro, then walked to open the door. After opening the door, Xiaolan saw a woman with a round hat. This is the Maori Detective Agency. What's the matter with you, miss? Xiaolan asked. At this time, the woman raised her head, and Xiaolan's face showed surprise. You are Miss Yoko Okino. Xiaolan shouted in surprise. Chen's eyes looked over. He knew that Yoko Okino was a famous female star in Conan, but he had never watched TV about Yoko Okino. Looking at it now, she is really beautiful. No wonder she can become a big star. Just by this sweet face, she can be famous. The one who reacted the most was Kogoro Mori. Hearing the words Chong 18 Yoko, the impatience on Kogoro Mori's face disappeared immediately, and then he rushed into the room and quickly completed the change. The original sloppy appearance immediately became a lot neater, wearing a suit outside with a rose in his mouth. Miss Yoko, I'm your fan Kogoro Mori, please come in. Kogoro Mori immediately invited Yoko Okino in. Ah, I'm so sorry to disturb you guys, Yoko Okino said after seeing the food on the table. At the same time, his eyes couldn't help looking at Chen, and after seeing Chen, Yoko Okino froze in place. Although there is no shortage of handsome men in the entertainment industry, Chen is definitely the most handsome and perfect Yoko Okino has ever seen. And the temperament on the body is very attractive, and Yoko Okino is stunned. Miss Yoko Okino, there should be nothing on my face, Chen said, making Yoko Okino, who was in a daze, come back to his senses. Oh, I'm sorry. Yoko Okino's face was yuhi, and she touched her hot face, feeling very shy in her heart. Damn it, it's so frustrating. I'm obviously not worse than this guy, so why doesn't Miss Yoko give me a second look? Kogoro Mori thought to himself. Miss Yoko, do you have any entrustment? Xiaolan asked Okino Yoko. It's like this. I seem to be being watched by unknown people. Every time I go home, the position of the furniture changes, and some inexplicable photos are sent to me. Every day I have unsolicited phone calls. It's really scary. Someone actually did such a thing to Miss Yoko. Don't worry. This matter is on me, and I will definitely find that person. Mori Kogoro said angrily. Dad, you haven't figured out the situation yet, so don't make a ticket first. If you can't solve it, wouldn't it be a shame? Xiaolan said while covering her face. I am Mori Kogoro, how can there be something that can't be solved? Mori Kogoro's face was full of inexplicable confidence. Well, are you interested in developing in the entertainment industry? I think you are a good fit. A man walked up to Chen and asked. This man is Yoko Okino's manager, Eiichi Yamagishi. Sorry, I'm not interested in the entertainment industry. Chen shook his head. He seemed fine and didn't want to join the entertainment industry. I see. This is my business card. If you change your mind, give me a call. Yamagishi Eiichi took out a business card and handed it to Chen. Chen took it over and looked at it, casually stuffing it into his pocket. Chen, why don't you go to the entertainment industry? I think you are very suitable. Xiaolan came to Chen's side and asked in a low voice. Chen leaned into Xiaolan's ear and said softly, because if you really go to the entertainment industry to develop, you won't have time to watch Xiaolan. Xiaolan's face suddenly turned to Yuhi. Because of the heat from Chen's exhalation, Xiaolan's ears were incomparably connected to Yuhi. Sister Xiaolan, what are you doing? The jealousy on Conan's face did not hide at all. Even him, he has never been so close to Xiaolan. Hugo-chan, this bastard, really wanted to kick him out, and even more angry that Xiaolan didn't stay away from this guy. No, nothing, Xiaolan said in a panic. Conan, this is an adult's business, children should not worry about it. Chen patted Conan's head and said badly. If possible, I hope to ask Mr. Mori to investigate secretly. Yamagishi Eiichi said. Who are you? Mori Kogoro only saw Yamagishi Eiichi now. Yamagishi looked embarrassed, took out a business card and handed it to Kogoro Mori, then said, My name is Eiichi Yamagishi, and I'm the manager of Miss Yoko Okino. Oh, no problem, I definitely won't let anyone know. Kogoro Mori nodded. Then can I ask Miss Yoko Okino to give me an autograph? Kogoro Mori suddenly took out a notebook. It's fine, Mr. Mori. Yoko Okino took the paper. Dad, really, what a headache. Xiaolan looked at the eager Maori Kogoro, and couldn't help but feel a headache. Miss Yoko Okino, you can just call me Kogoro in the future, there's no need to show off like this. Yoko Okino smiled awkwardly. Let's go to Miss Yoko's house to investigate. Kogoro Mori stood up and said. But Mr. Mori, are you really okay now? Yoko Okino asked. Looking at Maori Kogoro's alcoholic appearance, Okino 717 Yoko doesn't know whether he is reliable or not. Anyway, she can't trust Maori Kogoro. I wonder if we can go together. Chen asked. Yes, I also want to go and see. Yoko Okino is my idol, and I also want to visit the idol's house. Xiaolan said. Yoko Okino glanced at Chen, her cheeks were slightly Yuhi, and then said with a smile, No problem, we can come together. And Mori Kogoro was a little dissatisfied, really, I don't know what you guys are going to do together. After coming downstairs, Yoko Okino looked a little embarrassed at the car. The car was too small to sit on. It's okay, I have a car, Xiaolan come with me. Chen took Xiaolan's hand and walked to the car next to her. Damn, this guy actually grabbed Xiaolan's hand. Conan was about to chase after him, but Mori Kogoro picked it up with one hand. Little devil, don't run around, what if you lose this guy? Kogoro Mori carried Conan into the car, and Conan could only stare at Xiaolan getting into Chen's car. Chen, when did you have a car? Xiaolan asked after she came to the passenger seat. Just bought it. But do you have a driver's license? Xiaolan couldn't help asking. Don't worry, Xiaolan, I have a driver's license, I'm sure there will be no accident with you. Chen said with a chuckle. Chapter 764 Idol's Secret Room Murder Case Part 1. Soon they came to the downstairs of Yoko Okino's house, and Chen and Xiaolan got out of the car. Yoko Okino's house is on the 25th floor, and soon followed Yoko Okino to the 25th floor. After Yoko Okino opened the room, she was suddenly stunned when she saw the scene in the room. Ah! Miss Yoko Okino, what happened? Mori Kogoro asked quickly. Yes, someone died. Okino Yoko stepped back and said. Conan. Hearing the shout, Conan turned his head sharply and saw three of them. Yoshida Ayumi, Kojima Genta, and Tsuburaya Mitsuhiko. How did you three guys appear here? Conan couldn't help asking. Chen glanced at the three children. These three little devils are also experts in killing, especially after meeting Conan. Now they should be classmates with Conan. Xiaolan, there is a fatal case here, you hurry up and call the police. Maori Kogoro glanced inside and shouted. Ah, a murder happened. Xiaolan immediately took out her mobile phone and called the police. Big brother, you look so handsome. Ayumi walked to Chen's side and said to Chen. Chen rubbed Ayumi's head, squatted down and said with a smile, Little sister, you look very cute too. What's your name? My name is Yoshida Ayumi, my big brother called me Ayumi. Chen, do you like children too? Shaolin said with a smile. Yes, how about we have one? Chen asked Shaolin with a smirk. Shaolin's cheek slightly slanted. Yuhi, she reached out and patted Chen, then said coquettishly, Chen, if you joke like this again, I'll ignore you. Big brother, are you and this big sister a couple? It feels like a good match. Ayumi said. No, Ayumi, don't get me wrong. Shaolin hurriedly explained. Yes, the two of them are not a couple. Sister Shaolin's couple is a brother Shinyi. Conan shouted loudly, staring at Chen with bad eyes. Conan, don't talk nonsense, Shin and I are childhood sweethearts. Shaolin glanced at Chen and said. But childhood sweethearts, don't they all want to be together? Conan said. You're wrong about Conan. Since ancient times, childhood sweethearts are no match for heaven. Among a pair of childhood sweethearts, at least one of them is a defeated dog. The defeated kind of person. Chen chuckled lightly. Soon the police officer Mumu brought people. Seeing Officer Mumu, Kogoro Mori walked up to say hello. It's been a long time, Officer Mumu. So it's you. Officer Mumu glanced at Kogoro Mori and said a little disgustedly. They're all old acquaintances, what's with this expression? Mori Kogoro scratched his head embarrassedly. Every time because of your participation, we seem to be walking into a labyrinth. I feel like I haven't met you yet. Officer Mumu said angrily. Without Conan's help, Mori Kogoro is not the sleeping Kogoro, but a waste detective. As for whether Mori Kogoro is a real waste material or a fake waste material, there is no need to explore this. Miss Yoko Okino, people died in your house. Officer Mumu looked at Yoko Okino. Hey, Officer Megumi, shouldn't you be repaying Miss Yoko Okino? Let me tell you, this matter has absolutely nothing to do with Miss Yoko Okino. This needs to be investigated before we know it, but what you said doesn't count. Officer Mumu said. Chen was outside the door and didn't care much about the dead inside. Chen, don't you want to go in and have a look? Shaolin asked Chen. What's so beautiful about a corpse? Do you like to see Shaolin? Chen asked Shaolin. Shaolin immediately shook her head, although Shaolin's strength was very good, but she was timid and couldn't sleep at night after looking at the corpse too much. Chen, do you think Miss Yoko Okino is the murderer? Shaolin asked Chen. No, but Shaolin, aren't you optimistic about Conan? He ran in. Chen tilted his head and said. What? Shaolin looked into the room and saw that Conan was crawling around looking for clues. Conan, this is the scene of the murder. Come out to me quickly, what should I do if it affects the police officer's handling of the case? Shaolin shouted at Conan. Officer, I found something under the sofa, Conan yelled. Officer Mumu walked over and took out the earrings under the sofa. These are Miss Yuko's earrings. Yoko Okino said. Miss Yuko. Officer Megumi looked at Yoko Okino suspiciously. It's Yuko Aikazawa, who debuted at the same time as me. Now that the truth has come out, it is clear that the culprit is Yuko Aikazawa. She must have been jealous of Miss Yoko Okino, and then murdered and put the blame on him. Kogoro Mori suddenly interjected. This time, Officer Mumu nodded in agreement. There was indeed such a possibility. Officer Mumu immediately summoned Yuko Aikazawa. Miss Yoko, you should know this dead man. Chen walked in and said. Huh, Yoko Okino was startled, then nodded and said, yes, I do know him. He was my ex-boyfriend in high school. What? Mori Kogoro felt his heart breaking. Then Miss Yoko Okino, why didn't you say that you knew the deceased? Officer Mumu doubted Yoko Kamino again. Because this will affect Yoko Okino's reputation. Yamagishi Eiichi came out and replied. Even so, you still can't get rid of your suspicion. Officer Meguro looked at Yoko Okino and said. Soon Yuko Aikazawa was summoned. Please, since the body was found in Yoko Okino's house, you should look for Yoko Okino. What are you looking for me for? Aikazawa Yuko looked unhappy. I wonder if this handsome guy is interested in going out for a drink. Aikazawa Yuko asked Chen. Sorry, I'm not interested. Chen turned away in disgust. Looking at Chen's disgusting appearance, Ikuzi Yuko's face was blue and white. How ugly it was. Miss Ikuzawa Yuko, I found your earrings here, you should know it. I suspect you are the murderer. Kogoro Mori said solemnly. So it's here. I said I searched for a long time and couldn't find it. After seeing the earrings, Ikuzawa Yuko seemed very happy. But it's too ridiculous to suspect me with just one earring. I'll go to the bathroom. Ikuzawa Yuko turned around and went to the bathroom. Don't take me seriously at all. Maori Kogoro yelled angrily. Soon Yuko Ikuzawa came out, sat down without anyone else, took out a cigarette, and then picked up a lighter on the Statue of Liberty on the table and lit the cigarette. It turns out that this is a lighter. I thought it was an ornament. Miss Yuko Ikuzawa is too familiar with this place. Chen picked up the lighter and played with it, said lightly. Ikuzi Yuko's body stiffened, and her face suddenly became ugly. Chapter 765 Idol's Secret Room Murder Case, Part 2. Miss Ikuzawa Yuko, you have to explain why you are so familiar with this place. Officer Mumu looked at Ikuzawa Yuko and asked. Does this need to be said? She must have killed someone and then framed Miss Yoko Okino. Mori Kogoro shouted. I didn't kill it. I didn't kill it. I was just attacked from behind by him, and then I was so scared that I immediately broke away and ran away. I didn't kill anyone. Ikuzawa Yuko squatted on the ground and said. Now both of you are suspect. Officer Meguro said looking at Yoko Okino and Yuko Ikuzawa. Wait. Mori Kogoro suddenly shouted in annoyance. Why is Miss Yoko Okino still suspected? Isn't the murderer Yuko Ikuzawa? We also knew before that Miss Yoko Okino and the deceased Akira Fuji used to be boyfriend and girlfriend. It is possible that Yoko Okino killed each other after ending their past relationship. Police Officer Mumu analyzed. But he was the one who proposed the breakup. Yoko Okino said. If that's the case, then the culprit is Ikuzawa Yuko. Officer Megumi looked at Ikuzawa Yuko with sharp eyes. Actually, there is no murderer at all. This 733 guy committed suicide. Chen said lightly after pouring himself a glass of water. Conan was stunned for a moment and looked at Chen. The eyes of the others also turned to Chen. Hey, don't talk nonsense, okay, how could this be suicide? Who can stab a knife into his back? Said Kogoro Mori. I can't penetrate it myself, but what if the knife is fixed in one place? But nothing is fixed at all. Officer Mew Mew frowned slightly. See the floor over there. There's a dent there, try to see if the handle fits into that dent, and don't you think it's too hot in here? Conan ran over immediately, and when he saw the circular depression, he understood everything. It was really suicide. But is this guy so observant? Conan couldn't help but look at Chen again, but he actually let him see through it first. The knife was held in place by ice cubes, and then as long as you stand on the chair and lie back, and then turn over, it becomes what we see, and the ice cubes are also melted by the deliberately turned on heating. You didn't see it. Are there any water spots on the ground? Chen, how did you find out? You seem to have been outside all the time before. Shaolin couldn't help but asked curiously. These are all obvious, as long as people with good observation skills can find them. Chen Tan said with a hand. But why did he kill himself? Who knows what he's thinking about this, but he must have no good intentions. Chen said lightly. Not necessarily. Maybe Mr. Fuji Akiyoshi loves Miss Yoko Okino too much. Conan and Chen sang the opposite. I found that the backs of Miss Yoko Okino and Miss Yuko Ikuzawa are very similar, and I must have regarded Yuko Ikuzawa as Yoko Okino before. Then when Miss Yuko Ikuzawa was struggling, he mistakenly thought it was Yoko Okino resisting him. Hey Tilda, Conan, this is just your child's idea. If you really love someone, would you choose to commit suicide in the other person's house in a hurry? Chen sneered, and then continued. I guess I want to bring the other party to ruin, right? But this guy used his own life to ruin the other party's reputation. He is a ruthless person. Conan is at a loss for words. Indeed, other than this kind of thing, the first person to be suspected is Yoko Okino, and Conan knows that Akira Fuji is still holding a hair of Yoko Okino in his hand, but now this hair is taken by Conan woke up. However, he did this to frame it. I think it must be so, this guy is really hateful. Kogoro Mori said angrily. Since it has been determined that it is suicide, then we will leave. Officer Mumu was about to close the team and leave. Officer Mumu, you forgot to bring someone. Chen reminded Officer Mumu. Huh, Officer Mew Mew turned his head and looked at Chen suspiciously. Okino Yoko asked Uncle Maori to investigate the threat incident before. The person I want to make the threat should be Aikazawa Yuko. Yes, it's me, Aikazawa Yuko exhaled without any excuse. Being able to prove that she was not the murderer made her relieved. Aikazu Yuko was also brought back. Her crime is not too big, and it is estimated that she will come out soon, but after she comes out, the star will be ruined. Miss Yoko Okino, you shouldn't be able to live here today. Why don't you come and live with me? Kogoro Mori invited with a face. Dad, we don't have any spare rooms at home anymore. Xiaolan said angrily. This is not easy, let Conan kid sleep with me. Isn't it too wasteful for him to occupy a room with one kid? Said Kogoro Mori. Conan's mouth twitched, he didn't want to sleep with this bad guy. No, I have another house. Yoko Okino refused. That's it. Mori Kogoro looked disappointed, and then looked at Conan. No matter how he looked at him, he felt that he was not pleasing to the eye. It's all your fault, you stinky brat. Kogoro Mori punched Conan on the head. Conan wanted to cry, who did he provoke? Dad, don't beat Conan every time, you'll break his head. Xiaolan said. What about them brats? Maori Kogoro, who didn't want to be preached, diverted the topic. Seeing Ayumi, Yuanta, and Mitsuhiko, Shaolin didn't know what to do. I'll ask my manager, A. Yamagishi, to send them back. Yoko Okino said. Chen drove the car, carrying Shaolin, Mori Kogoro and Conan back to the office. Chen, aren't you going up? Shaolin asked. Well, it's getting late, and I'm going back too. Chen waved his hand and drove home. There was no place to live in this cafe, so Chen still had to go back. But it's boring to go home now, and Chen is going to go to the bar to relax. I looked at the map, picked a bar at random, and drove there. It doesn't seem to be very lively here. Chen walked into the bar, looked at the people in twos and threes, and shook his head speechlessly. This bar is about to open. The staff is sparse, and business is so sluggish. What would you like to drink? The bartender asked coldly. No wonder the business is not good, just with this service attitude, the business here can't be good either. Of course I came here to drink. I don't want the best, just the most expensive. Chen glanced at him and said lightly. The bartender didn't say much, and started to mix drinks on his own. He was very skilled, but he didn't know whether the wine was good or not. Chapter 766 Belmod. Little handsome guy, drink alone. Would you like to have a drink together? I'll treat you. A hot woman sat beside Chen. Are you sure you're treating yourself to a guest? Chen asked the woman. Yes, I can still afford a treat. The woman smiled slightly, full of charm. Bring all the wine you have here to me, she treats her guests. Chen said to the bartender next to him. Oh, so much wine, are you sure you can finish it? Ha ha Tilda, do you underestimate me? Can't I take it home if I can't drink it? Chen gave her a contemptuous look. Oh, it's very interesting, you are the most interesting man I've seen. The woman licked the corner of her mouth and said. Ha Tilda, Chen sneered, and then said, I don't like talking to people with two skins, get out of here. The smile on the woman's face froze, a cold light appeared in her eyes, and then she got up and left as if nothing had happened. After staying in the bar for half an hour, Chen got up to check out and left without driving, and walked into the side alley. After a while, the previous woman also walked in, but after walking into this small alley, no one was found. You should be able to talk about what you are doing with me. Chen's voice came from behind her. The woman's body trembled slightly, but she didn't know how the other party appeared behind her. If the other party attacked her, wouldn't she already be dead? Thinking of this, the woman suddenly pulled out the pistol hidden in her clothes, turned and pointed the gun at Chen's forehead. The person who pointed a gun at me last time has just sprouted. Do you want to be the next one? Miss face. Chen looked at the dark muzzle and said indifferently. The woman's eyes flashed with cold light, and she said in a cold voice, I know you are a ninja with good skills, but if you move a little bit, I guarantee your head will bloom. Your human skin mask is quite good. It feels the same as the real one. Where did you buy it? Chen said while holding a thin human skin mask. What? The woman was startled, then immediately touched her face. Her human skin mask was actually taken off without a sound. When is it? The panic on the woman's face disappeared and she asked Shang Chen. Are you Belmod, a member of the Black Organization? Chen asked Belmod. This time, Belmod was surprised again. Although the surprise disappeared in an instant, Chen was still able to see it. Is that Jin guy asking you to investigate me? Chen continued to ask. He has never been in contact with Belmod, and Belmod will definitely not find him. Instead, it is a bit contradictory with Jin. Did Jin let Belmod investigate himself and prepare to kill him? Jin guy hated himself because of the last spat. Jin, that bastard, do you hold such vengeance? Who the hell are you? Belmod couldn't help asking. They are so familiar with the members of their organization that most people don't know their organization. It was indeed Chen that Jin asked Belmod to investigate, and Belmod was very capable. Even on the day that Lien Chen came to this world, he investigated the killing of the robbers and knew that Chen was a ninja. But that's all, the rest is blank. Even with Belmod's ability, nothing can be investigated. Of course, it would be strange if Belmod could investigate it, because how long Chen Gang had traveled through and had not traveled before, how could there be records? Put down the gun, this thing is useless to me. If I want to kill you, you won't even have a chance to shoot. Chen said. However, Belmod didn't put down the gun. She had a sense of security with the gun. I warn you again, if you dare to move again, I will really shoot. Belmod said grimly. If it weren't for her unsure, she would have fired a long time ago. Belmod is not a hesitant person. Although Chen's handsome face made her lost for a moment, it did not mean that she would show mercy on Chen's face. Miss Belmod, I think it's really bad for you to speak to the air alone. Chen said lightly. Belmod's pupils widened, and Chen in front of her actually disappeared like an illusion. How did you suddenly appear behind me? Belmod couldn't help asking. Actually, I've always been here. Chen leaned against the wall of the alley and said lightly, the moment you entered, you fell into demonic illusion. Belmod pointed the gun at Chen again, with an undisguised astonishment on his face. You used hallucinogenic drugs on me. Still pointing a gun at me. Can you guarantee that what you're seeing is not a hallucination? As for hallucinogenic drugs, I don't want to use that. What kind of means is this? Belmod asked. Never heard of ninjas having such means. This is not important. You don't want to know. What am I going to do with you? Chen walked over step by step and brought the gun in her hand. It wasn't that Belmod didn't want to shoot, but there was an invisible force that kept her body from moving. If you dare to touch me, the people in the organization will not let you go. Do you, Belmod, also make threats? But do you think I will care about your little organization? Chen's voice was full of disdain. You seem to despise our organization. No, in fact, you don't even have the qualifications to look down on me. If you look down on me, you have to enter my eyes first, and you can't even enter my eyes at all. Ha tilde, don't be arrogant, this kind of trick can only bully a weak woman like me. Isn't it enough to bully you, a weak woman? Chen's body moved closer to Belmod. Belmod wanted to retreat, but his body was out of control at all. Looking at Chen, whose cheeks were getting closer and closer to her, Belmod's cheeks slightly swayed Yuhi, but Yuhi's dizziness only flickered and quickly dissipated. Actually, I'm very curious. Can you tell me who the boss of your organization is? Of course, if you don't tell me, I can directly probe your memory. I don't know if you believe it or not. Boss of this black-clothed organization, but this guy has never shown up, the most mysterious character. Belmod looked at Chen, although he sneered at Chen's memory of exploring her mind, but she had a hunch in her heart telling her that the other party could do it. For her own hunch, Belmod is very convinced, because her hunch has saved her many times. So Belmod thought for a while and said, "Actually, I don't know who the leader of the organization is, do you believe it?" Chen looked at Belmod and could feel that she was not lying. In fact, Belmod did not lie, she had never really met the boss of the black organization. Chapter 767 Kaide Gold Coins. As a core member of the organization, you don't even know who the boss is. You really failed, Chen said with a glance at Belmod. For a long time, he hasn't shown his true face, and the voice he uses to communicate with us may not be real. In fact, I don't even know whether the adult is male or female. Belmod said helplessly. Boss of the black organization. Since you don't know anything, what's the use? Just send you to heaven. Chen pointed a gun at Belmod's head. You really want to kill me? If you use a gun here, you will attract the police. Belmod said calmly. Of course, it is only calm on the surface, and the ups and downs in the heart are not known to others. Thank you for your concern, but no one else will hear it, so don't worry. Belmod's mouth twitched. Who cares about you? I care about my own life. Why don't you join the Invisible Empire? Chen suddenly put down his gun and said. Invisible Empire? What organization? Belmod frowned slightly. She had been active in the dark world for so many years, but she had never heard of an invisible empire. The organization I just established, how about it? Do you want to join? After joining, you will start a new life. Chen said with a smile. Sorry, I'm not interested. If that's the case, then it's a pity. Chen picked up the gun, stretched out his hand and slammed it. The small pistol turned into dust. He raised his head and squeezed Belmod's face, then leaned into her ear and said, I'll let you go this time. You are a smart person and know what to do in the future. After speaking, Chen left the small alley with only a trace of light. Wu tilde. After Chen left, Belmod exhaled a long breath and said with a self-mockery, so I'm also afraid of death. Take out the flashlight, turn it on and look at the powder on the ground. It's hard to imagine what kind of power turned a gun into powder. After meeting this guy, I feel that my three views have been subverted. Can this be explained by science? Belmod suspects that Chen has non-human powers, or has special means that he can't see through. No matter which one it was, it made him very curious. Sooner or later, I will dig out all the secrets. Belmod slowly disappeared into the darkness. The next morning, Chen came to the school. Chen, you're so late. It's almost time for class. Yuanzi's eyes lit up when he saw Chen coming in. Chen, good morning. Shaolin waved at Chen. It's not too late for class now. What are you doing here so early? Actually, I just came to school to experience life, mainly to play. Chen said in his own position. This is the first time I heard that someone came to play at school. Shaolin shook her head speechlessly. Look at Kudo Shinichi, isn't school a place to play for him? By the way, has that guy Kudo Shinichi contacted you? Sonoko asked Shaolin. I contacted him. He said he was completing a big case and asked me to take a long vacation for him. Shaolin nodded and said. Chen smiled slightly. It must have been a phone call to Shaolin with a voice changer. This guy also killed himself. In the eyes of some people, he may have a sense of justice, but he does things impulsive. If he sees suspicious vodka, if he chooses to call the police, it will not be like this now. The boring course in the morning was over, and Chen afternoon simply asked for leave. When I came to this world, I didn't have a good time strolling around, so let's have a stroll here today. You can't be unfamiliar with the place where you will live in the future. Chen said to himself as he walked on the street. Walking on the street, Chen's return rate is basically 100%. Feeling the admiration of women and the jealous eyes of men, Chen shook his head helplessly. Why is every world a world that sees faces? Can't you just see my inner beauty? All right, he doesn't seem to have any inner beauty. After walking around the streets for a long time, in the evening, when Chen was about to go back, he suddenly saw Conan and the others. They seemed to be looking for something, and behind them, there were a few sneaky guys. Is there another good show? Follow along and have a look. Chen followed with interest. Kabuto turned around and came to an unmanned building. When Chen went up, the four of them had already been arrested. It's not a good end to die, so I've been caught now. Chen looked at the four guys who were tied up, shook his head and said. Following them all the way, Chen also knew what they were looking for. Kaide gold coins. Those who tied Conan up were the robbers of the Italian robber group. This group of people grabbed something a year ago, but their leader ran away with gold coins, and they chased here. Would you like to bring a handful of black to eat black? The mantis flutters the cicada, and the oriole is behind. Chen thought to himself. After following them all the way, why did they have to charge a little toll? Chen changed his clothes in an instant, wearing a black trench coat and a Uzumaki mask on his face, the same style as that of Uchiha Obito. Clatter, clatter, clatter. Chen walked over step by step, and the sound of footsteps attracted everyone's attention. Stop, who are you? Several robbers took out their pistols and aimed them at Chen. It doesn't matter who I am, I'll give you two paths now, surrender to me, or sleep forever. A sword appeared in Chen's hand, just an ordinary ninja sword. Do you want to rely on a knife to oppose us? The robber laughed when he saw Chen holding the knife. Dangerous, you leave quickly. Conan shouted loudly. The ignorant are doomed. Chen approached them step by step. Beat him to death, quickly find the gold coins, and then we'll leave. Boom, boom, boom. The muzzle of the gun was blazing, and the smell of gunpowder filled the uninhabited building. When. All the bullets were blocked by Chen's ninja sword, and even the bullets were cut in half. Of course, this ordinary ninja knife can't cut bullets so sharply, and ninja knives are not known for their sharpness. However, after adding the wind attribute of 5.5 carats, it will become extremely sharp. What? Several robbers were shocked. Goodbye. Chen raised the knife, fell down and killed two. The last one was pierced by the ninja knife thrown by Chen and nailed to the wall. Kaide gold coin hanging on the roof, a small wind blade popped out of his hand, and the Kaide gold coin in the sack fell and was picked up by Chen. A large bag of gold coins was as light as nothing in Chen's hands. Although Conan expressed his shock that Chen was intact under the shooting of several guns, but seeing that Chen was going to leave with the gold coin, he said that he would not allow it. You can't take this thing away, Conan yelled. Why can't I take it? It's my booty. Chen glanced at him lightly, and he changed his voice, so it was impossible for Conan to hear his voice. Chapter 768. The worldview is about to be turned upside down. These things are illegal and must be turned in, Conan said without showing weakness, looking at Chen. Hee, what do you think I'm here for? Isn't it just for this gold coin? I saved you all. Don't be grateful. If it wasn't for me, maybe you would all be shot down by them. Chen glanced at Conan and said. Even if you don't save me, I have the confidence to subdue them. Although they are criminals if you kill them. It's better to surrender, otherwise. Conan's voice stopped abruptly, because Chen's figure had disappeared, and he didn't know where the other party went. Damn, who is this guy with the mask? He is dressed in black. Does it have something to do with that organization? No, that organization is ruthless. If it was the people of that organization, it would never let us live. Conan began to think wildly. Conan, what should we do? Are those people dead? Mitsuhiko looked terrified. Someone will definitely find out the gunshot just now. Someone will definitely call the police, and the police will come to save us. Conan said. In fact, Conan also wanted to untie the rope, but it was so tight that it was impossible to break free. If Chen didn't show up, maybe they were really screwed. The police arrived soon after and entered here with pistols and flashlights. Relying on the illumination of the moonlight, Conan clearly saw the fat figure of Officer Mumu. "Officer Mumu, come to us quickly, the criminal is dead," Conan shouted loudly. Officer Mumu ran over, looked at the 4 kiddies who were tied up, and remembered it. "You are Conan following that guy Mori, and you are the little devils who appeared at Yoko Okino's house that day." "Officer Mumu, this is not the time to talk about this. Hurry up and untie our ropes. We found the robbers who robbed Kaide gold coins," Conan said anxiously. "Being tied up is really uncomfortable." Officer Megure immediately let them go, and at this time, a valiant policewoman with short hair came over. She was the most popular policewoman in the Metropolitan Police Department, Mawako Sato. "Report to Officer Mumu that 3 bodies were found. Have the 3 corpses been confirmed to have no breath at all?" Officer Mumu asked seriously. "There is no breath anymore. According to the comparison of the photos we just took, they are the criminals who robbed Kaide gold coins," Mawako Sato reported seriously. "Conan, what do you know? What's going on?" Officer Mumu asked Conan. "They're tied up here and should know what's going on here. A man wearing a black trench coat and wearing a Uzumaki mask killed all of them and took Kaide gold coins," Conan said immediately. The police officer frowned. "Officer Megumi, I think you'd better see how these 3 people died," Mawako Sato said. Officer Mumu immediately stood up and walked towards the 3 corpses. The 2 men were killed by slitting their throats and the man was pinned to the wall with the knife through the heart, and they had guns in their hands. Mawako Sato is very serious. People with guns were killed by cold weapons, and they checked the guns. There were several less bullets in the magazines, and there was a reaction to gunpowder smoke, and the person who called the police said that they heard gunshots. They can be sure their shots have been fired. Conan also slipped over, looking at the fatal wound, frowning slightly, and then looking at the man who was nailed to the wall. Although it was dark at the time, Conan still saw through the moonlight that the masked man pierced the other with the knife thrown out, and then nailed the man's body to the wall. A knife can pierce a person's body, and it can be said to be sharp, but how strong is it to fly a person 5 or 6 meters away and nail him to the wall? "Go and pull this knife out," Officer Mumu ordered to the other officers. Several police officers shot together, and then the knife was pulled out. "This knife is different from ordinary knives." Officer Mumu looked at the knife. "This seems to be a knife used by ninjas, and it is very rare now," Conan said. Officer Mumu looked down at Conan when he heard the words. Conan saw Police Officer Mumu staring at him suspiciously, sweat on his forehead, and quickly said, "I read this in a book, because I admire ninjas very much, so I understand ninjas' weapons." "So that's the case," I said. "How do you know so much, you little brat?" "It's because of interest," Officer Mumu believed. "When it comes to ninjas, Hyuga-chen is also a ninja." "What? Hyuga-chen is also a ninja?" Conan shouted, startled. "Officer Mumu, look at this." A police officer came over with half a bullet in his hand. The bullet was cut from the middle, and the plane was extremely splendid. Could it be cut by a knife? "Officer Mumu, is it better to be realistic? You know how strong the impact of the bullet is. Not to mention whether you can see the trajectory of the bullet. Even if you cut it on the bullet, it is impossible to cut the bullet. This knife will not cut it." "Sharp," Sato Mawako said speechlessly. "It's true, I saw those people shoot the masked man with guns, and the masked man was uninjured. Could it be that the masked man is a Superman who specially saved us?" Ayumi said. "Conan, is that so?" Officer Mumu asked Conan, because Officer Mumu felt that Conan was the most reliable person here. "It's true, those 187 people fired a lot of shots, but I didn't see the man swinging the knife, but the masked man was uninjured," Conan said with a frown. The skill of the masked man before has made Conan a little suspicious of life. Originally thought that Shaolin was already inhuman enough to break the wall with one punch, but I didn't expect that there was something more powerful. After thinking about it, Officer Mumu asked Conan, "Do you know the contact information of Hyuga-chen?" "I don't know, but Sister Shaolin may know." "Then think of a way to help us contact Hyuga-chen." "Does Officer Mumu suspect that Hyuga-chen did these?" Conan asked, looking at Officer Mumu. "Just wanted to ask him some questions. Kid, why are you asking so much?" Conan pouted and called Shaolin. "Conan, where are you now? It's so late, why haven't you come back yet?" After the call was connected, Shaolin said with dissatisfaction immediately. "Sister Shaolin, do you know Hyuga-chan's phone number?" Conan has to be polite. He has to call Brother Hyuga or Brother Chen, not by his first name. Shaolin educated. Conan pouted, and then said, "Officer Mumu has something to ask for Hyuga." "Brother, can I trouble Sister Shaolin to contact him?" On the other side of the phone, Shaolin frowned slightly. Why did Officer Mumu look for Chen? Chapter 769. It's over. "Now I'm with Chen. Conan, tell me what's going on," Shaolin said on the phone. "What?" Conan jumped up suddenly. Shaolin was with that guy like that. "Shaolin, why are you with that guy?" Conan asked, jumping. The vinegar bottle in his heart had been knocked over. Chen sat next to Shaolin and heard the conversation on the phone. "Shaolin, bring your phone first. Since it's looking for me, let me tell you." Shaolin nodded and handed the phone to Chen. "Hey, Conan kid, you said that Officer Mumu was looking for me." At this time, Conan calmed down the jealousy in his heart, and business is the most important thing. "Humph, Officer Mumu suspects that you have something to do with a murder case, so hurry up and send you the address." After Conan finished speaking, he hung up the phone unhappily. "Just hang up, this kid is really rude," Chen said. "Sorry Chen, I will definitely educate him after I meet Conan," Shaolin said apologetically. "Boy Chen, what's the matter with Officer Mumu looking for you?" Kogoro Mori asked Chen. "That's right, Mori Kogoro is also there. They are now downstairs in the Mori office, which is the cafe that Chen bought. People make it at home, the pot comes from the sky, and I was involved in the murder case," Chen Tan said with a hand. "Ah, how could this be?" Shaolin asked nervously. "I don't know either, let's go and see first." "Boy, I'll go with you. I believe you won't commit a murder case. With my famous detective, Kogoro Mori, I can definitely help you clear your suspicions." Kogoro Mori put down his glass and stood up. "Chen, I'll go with you too," Shaolin said. "Okay, get in the car." Chen nodded and didn't refuse. The group left, but Inomoto Azusa, who went to the house to get the wine, was stunned. Why did people disappear after the work of getting the wine? Soon Chen rushed to the building. At this time, the police had blocked it, and the four of them could only watch from the outside. In fact, Conan wanted to go in and have a look, but it was impossible for Officer Mumu to let him go there. How could children run around at the murder scene? If it wasn't for them being witnesses, they would have been sent back by the police. Officer Mumu. "Officer Mumu, I'm here, do you suspect me of killing people here?" Chen walked towards Officer Mumu. Officer Mew Mew was stunned for a while, then shook his head and said, "No, it's just that you have certain suspicions. I came to you for something else." Chen glanced at Conan and gave him a good fruit to eat another day. Conan felt his body cold, as if he was being targeted by something, and the surrounding air dropped several degrees. "Hey, do you feel cold?" Conan asked. "No, not at all, Conan, you must feel that something is wrong, or you are sick," Ayumi said. "Chen, you should know this, right?" Officer Mumu brought the ninja knife over. In fact, Officer Mumu also wanted to check the fingerprints on the knife, but unfortunately there were no fingerprints on it. "It's just an ordinary ninja knife." Chen looked at the knife and said lightly. "Hey, Officer Mumu, don't you suspect Chen Boy is a murderer because of this knife?" "Chen has been drinking with me before," said Kogoro Mori. "Why did you come here?" Officer Mumu saw that Kogoro Mori was a little disgusted. The previous murderer used this knife to kill 3 criminals armed with guns, and also took away 15,000 gold kaide coins, the value of which is immeasurable. What? 15,000 gold kaide coins? Is this real or fake? Kogoro Mori jumped up. So many gold coins, I don't know how much it costs, and how many times he can drink small wine, he will be worry-free in his life. I suspect that the murderer is a ninja, and you also said that you are a ninja, so I came to ask you. Police Officer Mori said after glaring at the talkative Maori Kogoro. This guy with thin skin and tender meat is really a ninja, doesn't it mean that ninjas have to undergo untold hardships training? Sato Mawako came over and looked at Hyuga Chen. Chen, are you a ninja? Shaolin asked. It used to be, but it's long gone now. Chen shrugged and said. Drink tilde. Sato Mawako shouted loudly, and then punched Chen with a punch, which showed that the policewoman's skills were also very extraordinary. Chen tilted his head to avoid Sato Mawako's punch. This female police officer, I don't like being tested. If you make another move, I won't care if you are a beautiful woman or not, and I will definitely let you lie down. Mawako, don't do it. Officer Mumu said with a frown. Don't be arrogant, I'm the fighting champion of the police academy, and I want to know how you let me lie down. Sato Mawako said dissatisfied. Okay, Chen, can you tell me if a ninja can split a bullet with a knife? Officer Mumu asked Chen. Officer Mumu, are you joking? Ninjas are just ordinary people who have undergone special training. It's too far-fetched to split bullets, so don't be funny. Chen said with a wave of his hand. I really don't know why you are asking such a question, Officer Mumu. Okay, I want to know, how many ninjas are there today? I don't know this. Chen Tan spreads his hands, how could he know how many ninjas there are in this world? What's more, he and these ninjas are not the same people at all. Officer Mew Mew asked, and then everything was over, there was no way. There is no clue left, and they have no way to investigate. Conan provided some information, but he didn't even know his height and body shape. He only knew that the other party was wearing a Uzumaki mask. How to investigate this? These people died just after 8 o'clock, and Chen arrived at the coffee shop at 8:10. It would take more than half an hour to drive from here to the coffee shop, so Chen's suspicion was ruled out. Conan stared at Chen, not because he found something, but because he felt that Chen was becoming more and more suspicious. Especially after knowing that he is a ninja. What does a ninja do? In the current word, a killer, a person who specializes in assassination skills. Chen, brother, Conan cried out awkwardly, and then asked, you said you used to be a ninja, why did you become a ninja? Chen glanced at Conan and said, in a world where the strong eat the weak, only strong strength is the guarantee. Without strength, either choose a plain life and go with the flow, or gain power beyond everything and fear no one. Although Conan can't figure it out, he also knows that Chen became a ninja for strength, but why does he pursue strength? Little devil, sometimes if you don't have the strength, don't kill yourself. Chen's words were actually to remind Conan that this guy should not die, but he also knew that Conan would not be Conan if he didn't die. If he wants to die, he will do it. Anyway, Chen didn't like Conan. Chapter 770 Lesson on Jin. Chen took the book and sat on the train to read it boredly. Hey, why are you here? Chen turned his head to look, and a smile appeared on the corner of his mouth when he saw Conan. Why, can't I be here? Brother Chen. Ayumi ran towards Chen and asked Chen, Brother Chen, are you also going to Kyoto to play? I'm bored at home, go on a trip. How about you? Since Conan is here, it means that Shaolin and Uncle Mori are also there. Yeah, Uncle Maori is going to Kyoto to attend a friend's wedding, and we came with us. Ayumi said with a smile. Damn it, Ayumi is so close to him. I'm not happy, Saburaya Mitsuhiko said angrily. The corners of Conan's mouth twitched. The children of today are really mature. You all occupied the aisle, can you make it out of the way? Came a cold voice. Conan raised his head and glanced at it, but this glance made Conan's body tremble. The two men in black are. How fierce. Ayumi quickly stepped aside and looked carefully at the two men in black. After the two walked over, Conan's eyes were fixed on the backs of the two of them. Could these two guys be the ones who gave him the medicine to make him smaller? So you are here. I thought you were lost. I've been looking for you for so long because of 027. Shaolin ran over. Chen, you are here too. Shaolin saw Chen, with surprise in her eyes. Because I was bored at home and wanted to travel, I didn't expect to meet you. It's really fate, Chen said with a smile. Sister Shaolin, I'm in a hurry to urinate. I have to go to the toilet. Conan shouted, and then ran in the direction of the two men in black. Chen glanced in that direction, and a smile appeared on the corner of his mouth. Those two guys were indeed Vodka and Jin. I didn't expect these two guys to come here. Jin whined. You brought it to the door yourself to be beaten, no wonder I. Chen grinned. Jin, this guy, let Belmont investigate him, he has to pay back this guy, and when they appear here, they must be doing something. Chen, what are you thinking about? Shaolin asked Chen. It's nothing, I just think that we can meet Shaolin in this way. The fate between us is really not shallow. Chen smiled at Shaolin. Shaolin froze for a while, and after reacting, her cheeks became Yuhi. Dad is here, do you want to go and say hello to him? Shaolin asked Chen. Forget it, I still have something to do, so I'll leave first. Shaolin should take care of them. This car is very dangerous. Chen said to Shaolin and left. After walking to a place with no one, Chen used the shadow clone technique to separate a shadow clone, and then walked out by himself. After Chen left, there was only a man in a black robe and a Uzumaki mask, which Chen's shadow clone transformed into using the transformation technique. For such trivial matters as playing Jin, just leave it to shadow clone, and Chen would go by himself, wouldn't it be too cheap? Jin and Vodka are here to trade. After the trade, Vodka walked over to his place with a large suitcase and Jin. Brother, Absinthe didn't tell me about the kid at all. I think it's better to just kill the kid. Why do you need to investigate carefully? Idiot, you bumped into him that day, but it was you who fell to the ground. With your size, it was you who fell. Do you think he is an ordinary person? Jin said coldly. Yes, yes. But maybe it doesn't need to be so troublesome. I seem to have seen that guy before. He is also on this train, so let him and this train disappear together. Jin smiled coldly. However, this cold smile disappeared after half a second, his face suddenly became ugly, and a few drops of sweat appeared on his forehead. Whoops, I accidentally stepped on your foot, I'm so sorry. A very rude voice came. The severe pain in the foot made Jin almost cry out. Oh, I'm sorry, I forgot to tell you, there are a few iron nails on the soles of my shoes, the rusty ones. Bastard. Jinju couldn't help scolding, and punched the guy with the Uzumaki mask in front of him. At this time, Conan also chased after him. Looking at the man in the Uzumaki mask, he was stunned. What are you doing so impulsive? I just stepped on your foot, you're going to hit someone, tisk tisk. Jin's fist was caught, and he couldn't move anyhow, and his bones were about to break. Who the hell are you? Jin asked angrily. Vodka didn't care so much anymore. After seeing the big brother suffering, he took out his pistol and aimed it at the masked man. Don't use a knife or a gun, do you have something to say? Isn't it? Quickly let go of my big brother. Vodka shouted. The people in the carriage were also alarmed. They looked over there and saw that the guns were all pulled out. Dad, this is... What's going on? Shaolan said nervously. No, don't be afraid, calm down. Kogoro Mori said shiveringly. Jin, right. Akai Shuichi spent a lot of money to buy your life, so you should be able to understand what I mean. The masked man's cynical voice was put away and replaced by indifference. Do you think I'll believe it? What's the use of believing or not? You are a dead person anyway. Vodka, shoot, Jin ordered to the vodka. Vodka just hesitated a little, and then shot without hesitation. the bullets shot towards the masked man's head. At such a close distance, no one could hide, and in such a short time, he had no chance to kill himself, so Jin made Vodka shoot. Firearms are just gadgets to me. At most, this thing is to deal with Genin, and Chunin may not be killed. A kunai appeared in his hand, the bullet was blocked, and the vodka shot several times, but none of the shots were able to hit. What? This guy is a monster. Vodka took 2 steps back, his gun was out of bullets. Jin was also surprised. Kunai flew out, piercing the vodka's shoulder. You 2 wastes, you still want to fight with me? What do you want? Feeling the danger of death, Jin also forgot the pain and asked the masked man. Didn't I say it? Akai Shuichi paid me to take your life, and I also do things for the money. You have to be accommodating and be killed by me obediently. A kunai appeared in his hand again, and stabbed it towards Jin's neck. Wait, Jin yelled. Kunwu stopped, and Jin felt as if he had walked before the gate of hell. Chapter 771 Self-Directed. What else is there to say? I'm in a good mood now and can chat with you. The masked man said with a smile. It's 100 million yen here, and it's yours if you let us go. Jin pointed to the 100 million yen from the transaction. Tisk tisk tilde. I killed you all, and it's also mine, and I was hired, so it's hard for me to do this. Ginman took it into his arms and looked at the Uzumaki masked man with both eyes. When his hand touched the pistol inside, Jin hesitated. In the end, instead of touching the pistol, he took out a card. There are more than 300 million US dollars in it. As long as you let me go, I will tell you the password. Jin was also very heartbroken at this time. All this money was obtained by him performing various tasks and experiencing life and death, and now he has taken it all out. Okay, no one will have a hard time with money. You are still generous with Jin. Shuichi Akai only gave me $1 million. This time I will give you a chance to live. Jinju was silent, although he didn't know whether what the masked man said was true or not, but in Jinjo's heart, he did have a grudge against Shuichi Akai. Say the code and jump out of the window or I'll kill you now, choose. The password is 3 1s, 3 5s. Jin said the password honestly. Now that the initiative master is in someone else's hands, Jin knows exactly what he should do. Go away. The masked man raised his feet, and there were several blood holes on Jin's feet, and blood was still coming out. Vodka, let's go. Jin took out his pistol, shattered the glass, and jumped out without hesitation. I didn't think about fighting back, because Jin wasn't sure. Although this is a high-speed train, Jin is sure to jump out and not die, and so does Vodka. Although the performance seems to be very useless, if he does not have this ability, Jin will not let him follow. The 2 guys jumped out, and the car was still silent, because this very weird guy with the Uzumaki mask was still here. Conan stared at the masked man. Who is this guy? No, Hyuga-chen is also on this train. Is this guy Hyuga-chen? Conan's doubts about Chen rose again in his heart. You seem to have seen something that you shouldn't see. Do you want to kill all of you? Why don't you start with you little brat? The masked man suddenly turned his head and looked at Conan. Conan was startled, and the breath of death enveloped him. Bites Kiba, Conan presses his belt and ejects a soccer ball. This is the soccer belt designed by Dr. Agasa. Then start the foot strength enhancing shoes, kick the football, and the football smashes towards the masked man. This kind of pediatric stuff. Don't you want to hurt me? He grabbed the football with one hand. How is it possible? How much power does this guy have? Conan said while biting Kiba. The power of this football is enough to overturn adults, but it is of no use to this masked person. Stop, don't hurt Conan. Shaolin stood up and said. When Maori Kogoro saw Shaolin stand up, cold sweat broke out all of a sudden. Shaolin must not do anything. Oh, since I can't hurt this kid, how can I hurt you? The masked man turned his head to look at Shaolin. Although Shaolan was afraid, she still put on a karate starter. Damn, don't hurt. Before Conan finished speaking, he was kicked and fainted. After killing you, a brave little girl, let's kill you, this brat. And you, none of you can escape. The masked man said to everyone in the carriage. Bastard, come to me if you have the ability, don't hurt Shaolin. Maori Kogoro stood up and shouted. Although he is also a little scared, he must not let anyone hurt his daughter Shaolin. None of you can escape. A sharp sword appeared in the masked man's hand, and no one found out how it appeared, as if by magic. Mori Kogoro's expression changed and he shouted loudly, Bastard, don't use weapons if you can. The masked man turned a deaf ear, and slashed at Shaolin with a knife, so fast that Shaolin couldn't react. Shaolin watched the blade slash towards her, her mind was blank. When I heard that the protagonist always appears at the end. Chen held kunai and blocked the slash. Chen, Xiaolan, who was already ready to die, looked at the back standing in front of her. I heard the movement of the carriage here, so I came to have a look. I didn't expect to see such a good show, Chen said with a smile. All right. In fact, this scene was directed by him. Humph. Want a hero to save the beauty. People who are heroes generally don't end well. The masked man said indifferently. That's why. I'm not a hero. Chen instantly kicked out the masked man, his shadow clone. Just let yourself come to a gorgeous ending for the scene you directed. Chen rushed up in an instant, appeared in front of the masked person like a teleportation, and kunai stabbed down. Boom. Tachi blocked kunai. Chen, you have to be careful. He is very powerful, Shaolin shouted loudly. Don't worry, it's just a small roll, it can be done easily, Chen Hun said indifferently. Boy, don't be arrogant, the other party is someone who can block bullets with cold weapons. Mori Kogoro reminded. Point 0. Come on, big brother. Ayumi shouted. The masked man stood up, and the sword light waved into a net, shrouded towards Chen, and outsiders could not see the speed of the sword at all. Chen's hands turned into an afterimage, and kunai perfectly blocked the chopped sword. The people in the carriage were terrified. Is this fuck really human? Dad, hurry up and find a way to help. Shaolin immediately looked at Mori Kogoro anxiously. How can I help? I can't even see their figures clearly. Is this a martial arts drama? Mori Kogoro said helplessly. Chen felt that it was almost the same, and directly grabbed the dagger in Shadow Clone's hand, and then slashed towards Shadow Clone. A knife slashed the masked man in half. We'll meet again, next time I'll show you a good look and remind you that there's a bomb on this train, but don't get killed. Bang. The masked man who was cut in half turned into a puff of smoke with a bang. Chen boy, how is it? Where is the other party? Kogoro Mori came over and asked. Run away. Chen threw down the sword in his hand and spread his hands. Chen, are you alright? Shaolin immediately came over to check on Chen's situation. That guy said there was a bomb on this train, what should I do? The passengers panicked all of a sudden. I'm fine, but the most important thing right now is the bomb, Chen said to Shaolin with a smile. Mori Kogoro immediately became serious. This is not a trivial matter, he just remembered now, and immediately called the police. Chapter 772 Failed Trip. Chen, why are you so calm? There's a bomb in the car. Shaolin looked at Chen and said. It's okay, even if the bomb explodes, I can escape, so of course I'm very calm. Chen said indifferently. That's right, with your skills, nothing will happen. By the way, why are you so powerful? We couldn't even see your figure in the battle between you and the masked man. Shaolin asked curiously. In the previous battle, Shaolin and the others only saw the knife light and afterimages, and they were able to be so agile in the small carriage. Chen smiled slightly. Fortunately he didn't cut out the sword or something, otherwise he would definitely be regarded as non-human. It was a trivial matter before, lets you see something more powerful another day. Chen said to Shaolin. That Chen, thank you for saving me, otherwise I might have been killed by that masked man. Shaolin thanked Chen again. I said no thanks, are we classmates? Besides, Shaolin is so beautiful, I can't bear to see you killed. Shaolin's face slightly yuhi. Hey, now I'm trying to find a way to find the bomb. Maori Kogoro and the marshals sat there, looking worried. There is no clue, and I don't know how to investigate, such a big train, where to find the bomb. Conan also woke up at this time. Conan, you woke up, scared me to death, I thought something would happen to you. Yuan Tai looked at Conan and said. Where's the masked man? Conan asked quickly. I ran away and was beaten away by that big brother. It's amazing. I also want to learn Kung Fu. Yuan Tai raised his fist and said. Just don't think about it if you're a big guy. Damn Mitsuhiko, what are you talking about? Kojima Motoda punched Tsuburaya Mitsuhiko on the head, and a big bag grew out. Damn, you are too violent. Try it again. Kojima Moto brightened his fist. After seeing the fist, Tsuburaya Mitsuhiko wisely shut his mouth. I said, what I want now is to get off the train quickly and let the train stop. Chen said to Mori Kogoro. That's the only way. Maori Kogoro nodded. This is the only way to use it at this time. After parking, it's better to leave all the Lees here. Who knows if the bomb is in the Lee box? What are you talking about? Conan asked in confusion. There is a bomb on this car. Tsuburaya Mitsuhiko said to Conan. I have to say that these little devils are really brave. Knowing that there is a bomb on this car, they haven't been scared to call their mother, so they are much stronger than some adults. Now we can only do as Chen Shaozi said. Mori Kogoro thought about it, and there was only one way. I don't know where the bomb is, when it explodes, and now it's dangerous to stay in the car for a second. The train stopped, and then the radio notified the personnel to get off the train, and told that the luggage must not be carried. As for the reason, they were not told, because if everyone knew there was a bomb, it would definitely cause panic and lead to unforeseen things happening. Although the passengers were very dissatisfied, but the marshals used batons to drive them away, and there was also a marshal inspection at the door to get off the bus. I tell you, I'll sue you when I get out of the car, some people shouted. The marshals ignored them at all and expelled them all. After everyone had left the train, the marshals told them about the bomb on the train. At this time, those who were screeching shut up. I can't listen to the one-sided words of the masked man. What if we were deceived? Mori Kogoro said suddenly. Just as Mori Kogoro finished speaking, there was a roar, and the 8-car train was blown into 2 pieces. It turns out that there are really explosives, so it's very dangerous. What a failed trip, Chen said, looking at the train that was still blazing. It's good to be safe, Shaolin said happily. The car that exploded was very close to their car, and if it was still in the car, it must have been worse. Soon, the police officer Mumu rushed over and asked about the situation. After knowing that there were no casualties, he was relieved. You mean that you met the masked man who appeared before, and 2 mysterious men in black, and they had a conflict before? Officer Mew Mew frowned, a headache. Brother Maori, who do you think set the bomb? Officer Mumu asked Kogoro Maori. How do I know this? Mori Kogoro said unhappily. He was going to a wedding, and now the train is blown up, and he's going to a fart. I don't know if his friend will complain. These criminals are too rampant, when we don't exist. I must arrest them all in prison. Sato Mawako said angrily. Chen glanced at Sato Mawako. Who can you catch? Are gin and vodka so easy to grab? As for the masked man, that's his shadow clone, now it's lifted. Why, you don't believe me? Do you think you are very powerful? Do you want us to play a trick? Sato Mawako looked at Chen and said. Why do you feel like you're always targeting me? Chen looked at Sato Mawako and said. I just don't believe you are as powerful as they say. Sato Mawako pouted. Does it have anything to do with you whether I'm great or not? Sato Mi and Ziyuchen's attitude was irritated, but thinking about it, it has nothing to do with her at all. After staying here for half an hour, the police officer Mumu asked people to leave. Naturally, someone would compensate for the lost property of the passengers. After all, this was also the dereliction of duty of the marshals, and people brought the bomb on the train. Dad, do you still want to go to Kyoto? Shaolin asked Mori Kogoro. Don't go, what are you going to do now? Wait for another day to apologize to your friends. Let's go back first, said Kogoro Mori. But how are we going to get back? Conan asked. Ha ha ha, I am familiar with Officer Mumu, let him send someone to take us back. Maori Kogoro said with a big smile. Maori Kogoro and Officer Mumu asked, and Officer Mumu agreed. Kogoro used to be a policeman and had a good relationship with Officer Mumu. He would not refuse to accept such a trivial matter. Get in the car, I'll take you back, Sato Mawako said to Chen. Would you be so kind to send me back? Chen looked at Sato Mawako strangely. Get in the car quickly. Okay, since the beauties are offering each other, if I refuse, wouldn't it be too stupid? Chen opened the car door and sat in. Dad, take Conan and the others back in the car first. I have something to tell Chen. Shaolin said to Mori Kogoro, then ran to Sato Mikazu's car. Chapter 773 Learn Something from Me. Shaolin knocked on the car window. After Sato Mawako saw it, she directly lowered the car window. Miss Shaolin, what's the matter? Mikazu Sato asked Shaolin. Officer Sato, could you please take me for a ride? Shaolin asked Sato Mawako. Okay, Miss Shaolin, get in the car. Mawako Sato nodded. Thank you, Officer Sato. Officer Sato can just call me Shaolin. Shaolin thanked Sato Mikazu and sat in the back seat. Just when Sato Mawako was about to start the car, Chen suddenly said, wait. Seeing Sato Mawako's suspicious gaze, Chen opened the passenger's door directly, then walked down and sat in the back seat. After Sato Mawako saw Chen's behavior, a feeling of unhappiness rose in her heart. Sit down, I'm going to drive, Sato Mawako said calmly. She felt as if she was rejected. Shaolin, do you have anything to say? Chen asked, looking at Shaolin hesitantly. Well, thank you for saving me today, so I want to invite you to dinner tomorrow to thank you. Shaolin said to Chen. Oh, so Shaolin wants to invite me to dinner. I can have this, Chen said while rubbing his chin. Speaking of Shaolin, is this a date? Chen teased and asked Shaolin. No, I just want to thank you, don't get me wrong. Shaolin waved her hand hastily. Hey, Shaolin, you refuted it too quickly. Can't you let me have a trace of delusion in my heart? Chen sighed deliberately. Shaolin lowered her head, not knowing what to say. In fact, Shaolin has some good feelings for Chen in her heart. After all, in terms of Chen's appearance, basically all girls will have a good opinion of him, unless it is Lala. In addition, when she felt like she was about to die, Chen helped her block the knife, but maybe Shaolin herself didn't know those favors. Hey, can you drive slower? Chen said to Mikako Sato in front. Shut up. Sato Mawako did not slow down, but continued to accelerate. Your car is speeding, wait for the traffic police's ticket. HMPH, I have someone in the traffic team. Sato Mawako snorted. Her good sister Miyamoto Yumi was in the traffic team. Okay, you have someone, you are strong, the key is what if you have a car accident? Do you want to drag us to death? Are you doubting my driving skills? Sato Mawako was dissatisfied. She hated others to question her the most. Sato Mawako was racing all the way. Shaolin was frightened and trembling. Chen was relatively calm. Even if there was a car accident, he would be fine anyway. I didn't expect your little car to run quite fast, but how did you know that my home is here? You have investigated me, do you have any plans for me? It's terrible. Humph, I just checked casually, not to mention you have killed a few robbers before. Sato Mawako said. Shaolin looked at Chen suspiciously. I can't help it. I was pointed at by the robber with a gun. I can only resist. I am a good person and will not kill innocent people indiscriminately. Chen walked out of the car and said. If the person who once died in Chen's hands heard what Chen said, he would probably climb out of hell to avenge him. It's delivered now, you should go too, Chen said to Sato Mawako. If you were kind enough to send you back, wouldn't you invite me to sit at home? It's not good. You are a policeman. If you let others see you entering my house, the people around will think I have committed a crime. They will misunderstand me. Could there be something shady in your house? Mikazu Sato looked at Chen suspiciously. Come in if you want. Shaolin, come in with me. Chen grabbed Shaolin's hand and walked in. After Xiaolan was grabbed by her hand, her cheek slightly swayed, and she struggled symbolically, but she gave up when she saw that she couldn't break free. Chen's hand is so warm. Shaolin thought to herself. For some reason, she felt a sense of peace of mind being held by Chen. Sato Mikazu walked in and saw the two of them holding hands, feeling heartbroken. Thinking that I'm already 27 or 88, and I haven't even held hands with a man yet. These two are very dazzling. Chen, your home is too simple. Shaolin walked to Chen's house and said. This is the first time Shaolin has come to Chen's house, but the house is too empty and there is no decoration. I live by myself, I don't have the habit of decorating, and I don't know how to decorate. Do you want Shaolin to come here as the hostess, and you can decorate as you please? Chen said to Shaolin. Chen, if you tease me again, I will ignore you. Shaolin Yuhi said with a face. Want something to drink? Chen asked as he walked to the refrigerator. I want boiled water with plain water. Shaolin said. Sorry Shaolin, there is no boiled water, just drinks. Bring me some coffee, Mawako Sato said. Would you like iced coffee in a can? Just barely. Wu Yu took out a can of coffee, then 2 glasses of juice, and walked over. Tell me, what are you doing here? Chen asked Mikazu Sato after taking a sip of juice. Then I said, I want to learn something from you. Sato Mawako said a little embarrassed. Learn something from me? What do you want to learn? Chen asked curiously. Sato Mawako took out her smartphone. Don't be surprised to see the smartphone 373. This is a world that can't tell the age. After clicking on a video, Sato Mawako put the phone in front of Chen. I want to learn to throw a shuriken with you. I saw in the video that Chen killed a few robbers in a jewelry store last time, and it was played back slowly. Several shuriken collided in the air, and then accurately hit a few robbers. This hand is too handsome. How on earth did you do it? Sato Mawako asked Chen. Shaolin also drew it out of curiosity, and was attracted. The fancy throwing shuriken is really handsome. Why do you learn this? Don't you have a gun? It's not worth it, and you can't learn it. Chen glanced at Sato Mawako and said. Well, for Chen, it's actually just not good enough. It's okay to deal with weak people, but it's not very useful to real masters. If it wasn't for the fact that he didn't want to shock the world, Chen wouldn't use this kind of forbearance tool at all. Guns can't be carried at all times, and don't underestimate me, I can definitely learn. This thing is also a controlled knife, can you bring it with you? It's not good if it's made of wood. As long as it's sharp enough, it can hurt people, and it's not considered a control knife. You reminded me, maybe I can use wood to make some ninja tools. Chen smiled and said. Chapter 774 Heartbroken Conan. You really don't intend to teach me? Sato Mawako looked at Chen unwillingly. I can't teach you, to be precise, I can't teach you. Chen Tan spread his hands and said, without any foundation, how can he teach him? Chen is not willing to waste time. Why? Isn't the secret practice not passed on? Chen casually found a reason. No matter how perfunctory this reason is, especially with the expression on Chen's face, it is extraordinarily perfunctory. Sato Mawako pouted. What secrets are not passed on? If you don't want to teach them, don't teach them. In this case, I'm leaving, don't fall into my hands in the future, or I'll make you look good. Sato Mawako raised her fist to threaten. Blatant threats, tisk tisk tilde. May I go to court to sue you? HMPH. Then there must be evidence, otherwise I can sue you for a false accusation, and then you can go to jail. Sato Mawako snorted softly. All right. In fact, Mawako Sato is just playing around and venting her resentment. After Sato Mikazu left, Chen and Shaolin were left alone, and Shaolin suddenly felt a little shy. Well, I'm going back too. Shaolin stood up and said. I'll take you back. Shaolin nodded, but did not refuse. Chen drove Shaolin back to the Maori detective office. When Chen was about to leave, Shaolin suddenly stopped Chen. Chen, don't forget that I will invite you to dinner tomorrow, so let's meet at your coffee shop. I'll go first. After Shaolin finished speaking, she hurriedly ran upstairs. Chen chuckled and drove away. To be so embarrassed, it seems that this transaction is not going well. Belmod looked at the gin and vodka lightly. Belmod's sarcastic eyes made Jin feel angry and snorted coldly. Vodka sat next to him and didn't speak, and there was no room for him to speak here. Among the two big men, he was just a shivering little guy. Tell me, as the trump card of the organization, how could the man whom the gentleman trusts the most, get into such a mess? Belmod is very curious. She knows the strength of Jin. Even if she is surrounded by the FBI, it is estimated that she will not be so embarrassed. I don't know who is making Jinju so embarrassed. Could it be Shuichi Akai? Jin heard the words and fell silent, while Vodka had a look of fear on his face, and he still had a wound that was pierced by Kuudong. Jin was also miserable. The bone in his left hand was broken, several holes were pierced in his foot, and the bone in his toe was also broken. It is said that the fingers are connected to the heart, and the Jin with the toes being crushed is very painful now. Although he maintained an expressionless high-cold look, there was cold sweat on his forehead. I want you to help me investigate a guy, Jin said to Belmod. Let me investigate again, go find someone else. Belmod said angrily. The last time Jin asked her to investigate Hyuga Chen, she almost lost her life when she took over Belmod. If she guessed correctly this time, she must be investigating the person who injured the Jin. The Jin was beaten like this, and she was unwilling to investigate. Jin looked at Belmod coldly, and Belmod was not afraid of Jin at all. Vodka, let's go. Jin stood up and limped away. After Jin left, Belmod took the yuhi wine on the table and drank it with a hint of curiosity in his eyes. Although she didn't want to investigate, she was really curious in her heart. Sister Shaolin, are you going out early in the morning? After Conan walked out of the room, he asked Shaolin, who was dressed up and ready to go out. Yeah, Conan, I have something to go out. Breakfast is ready, it's in the kitchen, you can make it hot for Dad. Oh, Conan nodded indifferently, and asked casually, what is Sister Shaolin going out for? Dressed up so beautifully, are you going on a date with Brother Shinyi? Yeah, that's right. Shaolin didn't want to say more, nodded perfunctorily, opened the door and walked out. Conan's beauty is bubbling, and sure enough, Shaolin still likes me. Suddenly Conan's body froze. I rely on it, I'm Shinichi. Shaolin lied to me. The dazed mind that had just woken up immediately woke up, and then hurriedly ran to the window and looked down from the window. But when he saw the scene where Kiba's teeth were about to bite, he saw Shaolin talking and laughing and getting into a man's car. And this man he also knew, that bastard Hyuga Chen. Boom, boom, boom. Conan patted the window with his hand angrily, feeling his liver hurt. Could it be that Shaolin was really hooked up by that bastard Hyuga Chen? Hey, Conan, what are you doing, you kid? What if you broke the window for me? Mori Kogoro came out and saw Conan, who was constantly taking pictures of the window, and he became angry all of a sudden. Without further ado, rushing towards Conan is a fist, hitting Conan with gold stars in his eyes. Conan's heart is so sad. The girlfriend in my heart just followed someone into the car, and then was punched in the head again. My heart was stuck. It was a psychological blow first, and then an external blow. Conan looked at Kogoro Mori with sad eyes. Why, are you not convinced? Mori Kogoro looked unhappy, raised his fist and punched it again, and another punch made Conan's eyes shine, and he almost fainted. No, I have to follow it. Conan went back to the house, took out his skateboard, and ran out directly. He wanted to keep up with him. After running out, Conan stepped on the solar skateboard and chased after the car that had left. This skateboard was designed by Dr. Lee. It was very fast, and it was a black technology. Which way did you go? Why can't you keep up? Conan looked at the traffic coming and going on the road, and his scalp was about to be scratched in a hurry. Choosing a random direction, Conan's scooter gallops on the road, and the speed is comparable to that of a car, especially on the more congested roads in urban areas. His scooter has an advantage. Where are we going? Since Shaolin was invited by you, then you decide. Chen looked at Shaolin and said. Shaolin thought about it, then said, I know there's a good sushi restaurant, maybe we can try it. Do you want to go now? Chen glanced at the time. It was only 7 o'clock, and he had just finished breakfast, so why don't he go to eat sushi? Shaolin's cheeks were slightly yuhi, and she whispered, where do you think we should go now? Let's go to the amusement park. Chen looked at Shaolin and asked, what do you think of Shaolin? Okay. Shaolin had no objection and nodded. Since Shaolin had no opinion, Chen directly called up the map, inquired about the amusement park in Tokyo, and chose the largest one. The larger the amusement park, the more complete the project, so naturally choose the largest one. It took nearly an hour to drive to the amusement park, mainly because of traffic jams. Chapter 775 Ferris Wheel Accident. Chen, didn't I invite you? Why do you have to pay? Shaolin looked angry. Please Shaolin, boys and girls come out to play. If you ask girls to pay, they will be misunderstood as little white faces. I don't want to be misunderstood. You have to be considerate of me. Chen Tan Shou and Shaolin said. What's more, when we go out to play, it doesn't matter who pays the same, let's go. Let's play. Chen took Shaolin's hand and walked towards the interior of the amusement park with the ticket. Shaolin's cheeks slightly yuhi was held by the hand, and she tried to break free, but she couldn't break free, and Shaolin gave up. Boss, give us 2 ice creams. Chen took Shaolin to a cold drink shop inside and said to the boss. Okay, please wait a moment. Soon 2 ice creams made on the spot were handed over. When Wu Yu just took it and was about to pay, Shaolin handed over the money directly. You pay for the tickets before, now I'll treat you to ice cream. Shaolin said with a slight smile. Shaolin, your smile is so beautiful. I'm stunned. Chen handed one of the ice creams to Shaolin's hand, and Shaolin happily took it. What are you going to play? Ferris wheel, roller coaster, or carousel? Coaster, and then immediately shook her head. There was a murder incident on a roller coaster, and her head was cut off. Shaolin felt that she would never ride a roller coaster again in her life. Let's go ride the Ferris wheel. Chen looked at Shaolin and decided directly. It's good to ride the Ferris wheel. 2 people get along alone, a must for couples dating. Although Chen and Shaolin are not lovers, they can deepen their relationship. Pulling Shaolin to the direction of the Ferris wheel, after purchasing the tickets, Chen and Shaolin entered the cockpit. This is the largest Ferris wheel. I heard that you can see more than half of the city at the top. I don't know if it is true. I have never been here. As the Ferris wheel started and slowly rotated upwards, Shaolin felt a little happy in her heart. As the Ferris wheel climbed one after another, Chen and Shaolin's field of vision became wider and wider, and all the tall buildings came into view. I didn't expect that there are telescopes here, and the equipment is quite complete. Chen said as he picked up the telescope next to him. When it came to the highest point, the Ferris wheel swayed suddenly and then stopped. Shaolin was unsteady and planted towards the front. Chen stretched out his hand to stop Shaolin, which made Shaolin stabilize. Thank you, Chen. Shaolin breathed a sigh of relief. It's nothing, but why did the Ferris wheel stop? Could something happen? Chen wondered if he had contracted Conan's bad luck. The Ferris wheel, which has not necessarily had an accident in the past 10 years, happened to have an accident when he was sitting. Shaolin calmed down and found that she was still being hugged by Chen at this time. Yuhi suddenly got up with a sullen face, and quickly broke free. Why did the Ferris wheel stop? Did something happen? Shaolin rubbed her hot face and asked. I don't know, but we're unlucky enough to hope it's not a man-made incident. If it's a real accident, it's okay. I'm afraid some terrorists attacked and planted bombs on the Ferris wheel or something. This kind of thing is not impossible in Conan's world. Boom. With a roar, the cockpit below Chen and Shaolin exploded, and Chen and Shaolin could just see it. Shaolin's face turned pale. Seeing the explosion, Shaolin still didn't understand what happened. Chen, have we encountered a terrorist attack? Shaolin asked with a pale face. It's alright, maybe it's amusement park entertainment, maybe there's no one in that cockpit at all. Chen comforted Shaolin. However, just after Chen finished speaking, the speakers in the cockpit suddenly rang. Everyone on the Ferris wheel, you have become our hostages now. I think you must be in a good mood now. Ha 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 ha. Chen's face turned gloomy, and just after I said it was okay, you jumped out and slapped me in the face. Chen. Shaolin's face turned paler, and her body leaned towards Chen. At such a critical moment, only Chen in front of her could bring her a sense of security. For some reason, at this time, Shaolin actually forgot her childhood sweetheart Kudo Shinichi. Chen took out his mobile phone and dialed Sato Mikazu's number. The two of them left a phone call with each other last time. At the National Police Agency, Mikazu Sato took out her mobile phone, raised her brows, and chose to connect. Officer Sato, we seem to be attacked now. After Mikazu Sato connected, Chen didn't talk nonsense, and directly told the current situation. What are you saying is true? Someone really launched an attack at the amusement park. Sato Mawako asked seriously. Please, I have no need to deceive you. Okay, you wait, we'll act right away. Mawako Sato's face became more and more serious. Sato Mikako immediately hung up the phone and ran to notify Officer Meguro, but at this time the other cockpit people also reacted from fear. Then the first thought was to call the police. The other party seems to have deliberately told us to call the police. I don't know what the guy who hijacked this Ferris wheel wants to do. Chen sat down and said softly. Chen, aren't you afraid at all? Shaolin looked at Chen and asked. Are you afraid of being useful? It's useless at all, just sit back and relax. I promise you will be fine. Chen said to Shaolin. Hearing Chen's words, Shaolin suddenly felt relieved. But when you come out to play and encounter such a bad thing, it's really annoying. Damn, don't commit crimes early, don't commit crimes late, but doing things at this time, do you think your life is too long? Actually, this is not bad. We could only stay at the top for a moment, but now we can keep looking at the scenery in the distance. Chen said with a smile. Chen, you are so optimistic. What if we die? Shaolin smiled reluctantly, and then asked Chen. Why do you think so much? I promise you won't die. Don't you believe me, Shaolin? Besides, even if you do die, it's worth dying to be with you, a beautiful woman. Shaolin pursed her lips and looked at the distant scenery, not because she didn't believe Chen, but now they were on the brink of life and death. At this height, it is impossible to escape, and the criminal who hijacked the Ferris wheel doesn't know what he did here. Chen, I believe we will be saved. The sadness in her eyes disappeared. Shaolin turned her head and showed a warm smile to Chen. Shaolan, your smile is very warm now, just like an angel. Chen looked at Shaolan and said. Chen stood up and stood at the window with Shaolin, looking at the distant scenery. Chapter 776 Lightbulb Conan. The police arrived soon, and they couldn't help but be in a hurry. If something really happened, they couldn't be held responsible. What's the situation now? Officer Mumu asked the person in charge of the amusement park. The cold sweat on the forehead of the person in charge stayed. No matter what happened this time, he knew that he was finished. I don't know what's going on the Ferris wheel, but the line of the Ferris wheel has broken down. It needs to be repaired now, and it will take at least a few hours. Ha ha ha, I believe the police have already come. Let me tell you my purpose. This time I'm just asking for money, not hurt and accept my fate. I hope you can prepare 100 million yen in cash within an hour. Kim. The amusement park broadcasts all rang. Officer Mu's face sank as he looked at the person in charge and asked, could it be that all the broadcasts in your amusement park are being controlled? I'm not very clear about this. The person in charge said with an ugly face. Officer Meguro, could the other party be the staff of the amusement park? Sato Mawako guessed. Being able to plant a bomb on a Ferris wheel and control the broadcast in an amusement park is certainly impossible for the unfamiliar. It's very possible, we can go and investigate now. Officer Mumu nodded. Boom. With an explosion, one of the cockpits of the Ferris wheel exploded. I hope your police don't act rashly. Now it's the empty cabin that's exploding, but it won't be the case in the future. The voice that came from the broadcast again made Officer Mumu and the others stagnate. Another cockpit exploded. There won't be bombs in our cockpit, right? Xiaolan's face changed slightly. There is indeed a bomb, but this bomb is really ugly. It should be a homemade earth bomb. Chen opened his seat and said. In fact, the earth bomb is relatively easy to make and the cost is very low, but ordinary people can't make it. Even if it is made, it is just the kind of garbage that needs a fuse. And this bomb is a remote control, indicating that the person who made the bomb also has some skills. Xiaolan moved closer to Chen and asked Chen, what about this? I think it's better to just throw it out. I can't defuse the bomb. Chen directly smashed the tempered glass in the cockpit and threw the bomb out. Okay, now we don't need to worry, we can't die now. Chen clapped his hands and sat down and said. Xiaolan breathed a sigh of relief, then asked worriedly, will this not cause problems? It shouldn't be a problem, it should be. As soon as Chen finished speaking, the bomb he dropped exploded. Although it didn't blow up anyone, it surprised Officer Mumu and the others. Let's sit down and wait in peace. We have nothing to do with us. Chen took off his jacket and put it on Xiaolan's body. Now that there is no windshield, it is quite cold when the wind blows. Chen may not care, but Xiaolan may not be able to bear it. What about the others? Xiaolan, it's not bad that we can save our own lives. There are other people in the air, not to mention that we are here. It's useless to think so much. Yes, I hope they can be safe too. Xiaolan nodded. I'm sorry Chen, if I hadn't asked you out, I wouldn't have encountered such a thing, I'm really sorry. Xiaolan looked at Chen apologetically. No need to apologize, aren't we all right now? Chen waved at Xiaolan. Now that they are indeed safe, looking at the homemade bomb, Chen knew that the prisoner was probably a poor man, and it was impossible to blow up the entire Ferris wheel. At most, a bomb was placed in the cockpit. Is it a little cold? Chen looked at Xiaolan and said. Xiaolan nodded. The cold wind was indeed very cold. Chen, are you cold too? Xiaolan looked at Shang Chen. Because Chen gave her the coat, it should be even colder. It's really cold, why don't we hug to keep warm? Chen stretched out his hand and hugged Xiaolan in his arms. Xiaolan's body froze. She lay in Chen's arms and didn't struggle, but after leaning on Chen's body, she only felt warm, not cold at all. 2 hours later, the Ferris wheel started again, and everyone returned to the ground safely. Yo Tilda, seeing you like this, it's resolved. Chen said, looking at police officers Mumu and the others. Well, I didn't expect it was the person in charge who did this. Mawako Sato looked at the person in charge who was caught. In addition to the person in charge of this amusement park, there are also 2 staff members, both of whom are accomplices of the person in charge. Chen glanced at Conan. It should be this guy who solved it. I didn't expect this guy to come here too. Sister Xiaolan, are you okay? Conan asked Xiaolan. Conan, why are you here? Xiaolan asked Conan suspiciously. Conan scratched his head. Of course, he came after hearing the news of the accident here. He didn't expect Hyuga Chen and Xiaolan to be here too. Conan, don't run around. Please Sergeant Sato send him back. Chen smiled and came to Conan and patted Conan. No, I don't want to go back. I want to play in the amusement park too. Can't I, Sister Shaolin? Conan took out the trump card for children to act coquettishly. Shaolin looked at Conan with embarrassment on her face, and then looked at Chen. Since Conan you want to follow, then follow. But remember to be obedient. Chen pressed his head and rubbed it hard. Hey Tilda, it hurts. This hateful guy. Conan stared at Chen angrily. I wanted to continue shopping in the amusement park, but because of the previous incident, the amusement park will be temporarily closed for rectification. Leaving the amusement park, Chen looked at Conan, the light bulb, and wanted to beat him up. Conan looked at him with smug eyes, wanting to get along with Shaolin alone. As long as I am there, it is absolutely impossible. Leaving the amusement park, Chen drove towards the sushi restaurant that Shaolin said. Shaolin sat in the co-pilot, while Conan sat depressed in the back seat. Sister Shaolin, Brother Shinyi called and told me that he misses you very much. Conan shouted loudly. Really? I don't believe it. Shaolin looked back at Conan and said. Really? Dr. Agsa can testify. Really? Shaolin's face suddenly changed. That guy, thanks to her, she has been worried about the guy's safety all the time, but the guy is good, there has been no news, and he didn't call Conan. When that fellow Shinichi reappears, I will definitely teach him a good lesson. Shaolin said with clenched fists. Conan's back was cold, he didn't offend Shaolin. Why did Shaolin teach him a lesson? Fortunately, it has become smaller now. After changing back in the future, I still have to hide from Shaolin first. Shaolin's grievance seems to be very deep. Conan touched the cold sweat, and thought to himself that he knew Shaolin's violence well, and one punch could kill someone half to death. Chapter 777 Valentine's Day Party. The sushi here is really good, Chen said while tasting the sushi. Yeah, I just tasted this sushi, so I specially recommended it, Shaolin said with a smile. The resentment on Conan's face, these two people seemed to ignore him, really hateful. After eating, I wanted to invite Shaolan to watch a movie. But after seeing Conan, forget it. Watching a movie with Conan, maybe there will be a movie theater murder, plus it's boring to carry this light bulb. So after the meal, Chen sent Shaolin back. A few days later, Chen boarded out of the school gate. Chen, wait for us. Hearing the shouts from behind, Chen stopped and saw Yuanzi dragging Shaolin's hand and running towards him. Yuanzi, why are you running so fast? Is there something wrong? Chen asked Yuanzi. Chen, don't you know that Valentine's Day is coming? What are you going to do? Sonoko asked Chen. What should I do if I'm not ready? I'm going to stay at home, so as not to go out and be fed a handful of dog food. Well, there is actually a Valentine's Day party. Chen, can you join us? Sonoko said immediately after hearing that Chen had no plans. She came here to invite Chen. Is Shaolin going too? Chen looked at Shaolin. Of course, Shaolin also wants to participate. How about it? This is a good opportunity. Seize the opportunity to confess to Shaolin. Yuanzi tempted to Chen. Sonoko, what are you talking about? Shaolin's ears turned Yuhi. Okay, since Shaolin participates, I naturally won't refuse if I have nothing to do. Chen nodded. Sonoko blinked at Shaolin, and knew that as long as Matsuri came out with Shaolin, she would be able to invite Chen. Then see you tomorrow. Yuanzi pulled Shaolin away quickly, she still had to prepare. The next morning, Chen came to his coffee shop, where Shaolin and Yuanzi were already waiting. Chen, you're so slow. I've been waiting here for more than an hour, but since it's Chen, then I forgive you. Sonoko said with a smile. By the way, where exactly is the Valentine's Day party held? Chen sat down and asked Sonoko. I have an address for this, and it was held at the home of a college student named Minagawa Katsuhiko. Sonoko took out a note and handed it to Chen. After staying in the coffee shop for a while, Chen took Shaolin and Yuanzi into the car, and then the car started and disappeared into the distance. After the car left, Conan stepped out. Damn, it's this guy again. I don't know where this guy is taking Shaolan. Fortunately, I put a tracker on his car. A small button on Conan's glasses. These glasses are also made by Dr. Ali, and can track the position with the tracker. Strange, why is there no signal? Is the tracker given by Dr. Lee broken? Conan's face was worried. There is no way to track, which makes him how to find Hyuga Chen's car. Damn it. Stinky brat, what are you shouting downstairs? You made me mad, you know. Kogoro Mori opened the window and scolded Conan below. Conan flipped through Byakugan, and then ran to find Dr. Akasa. He had to ask Dr. Akasa to find a way to find the location of Hyuga Chen. What if that guy kidnapped Shaolin? Conan is very anxious now. Jealousy stirred in his heart. Chen drove the car with an inexplicable smile on his face, just the tracker that Conan thought he didn't know. Now the tracker is invalid, of course, it is also the ghost of Chen. Let's play around with you little brat today. Chen stretched out his hand, the tracker that was originally glued to the rear of the car suddenly appeared in Chen's hand, opened the window and flicked, and the tracker landed on a car. And Conan, who ran to Dr. Ali's house, was debugging the glasses and found that the tracker suddenly had a signal. Conan didn't think too much, and directly followed the past. However, I don't know what will happen to Conan after he catches up, and whether he will smoke in anger after running for a while. Soon came to the home of the college student named Minagawa Katsuhiko. The family is quite big. But are you familiar with Yuanzi? Chen asked Yuanzi. Sonoko shook his head, unfamiliar with it, but when he was drinking a drink at the drink shop the day before yesterday, Minagawa Katsuhiko came to chat up an invitation. Sonoko felt that there were more people than the Valentine's Day party, so he agreed. Miss Shaolin. A big man came out and ran towards it. This big man is called Wakamatsu Jungsho, and he fell in love with Shaolin the first time he saw Shaolin that day. Although the name is quite handsome, few people really like the appearance of this big man. Wakamatsu ran over happily, but after seeing Chen, his face immediately turned ugly. Miss Shaolin, who is he? Wakamatsu stared at Chen unhappily. Hey, you guy has a questioning tone, as if someone owes you. Who am I to have something to do with you? Chen looked at this guy indifferently, making him unhappy. Is it because he is tired of living and doesn't want to live anymore? What kind of expression do you have? Believe it or not, I'll hit you. The big man raised his fist. He had no other advantage, only a pair of force. Chen cast a glance at this guy, seeing that this guy is full of muscles and big, but it's actually not useful. Hey, what do you want to do? Sonoko's expression was not very good. Although the garden is usually carefree, but if he is serious, the momentum on his body can also shock people. She is the second lady of the Suzuki Consortium. Yo tilde. Sonoko is amazing. This big guy is too scared to speak. Chen looked at Sonoko with a teasing look. Yeah, Chen, don't make fun of me. The big man Ruosong turned Yuhi on his face, and was so ashamed that he couldn't see anyone, and was actually frightened by a woman. But thinking about Sonoko's previous momentum, he really didn't dare to say anything, so he could only leave in despair. Fortunately he was not seen by others. Entering the house, a group of people gathered together, and the atmosphere was not very warm. Ruosong, why is your face so ugly? Mr. Fatty Zadao jokingly looked at Ruosong. Humph, I'm in a bad mood right now, don't bother me, or I'll make you look good. Wakamatsu raised his fist and said. Fatty immediately shut his mouth. If the big man like Wakamatsu really wanted to beat him, he would definitely only get beaten. But shut his mouth, his face was gloomy. He picked up the orange juice on the table and drank it. This atmosphere is not very good. After Chen glanced at it, he felt a little bored. Why don't you come? It's all here, just sit down first. Xiaolan said in a low voice. Let's introduce myself first. A short-haired woman, like a tomboy, stood up and said, also to ease the atmosphere. After all, the atmosphere is too dull now. Through self-introduction, Chen and the others knew that the tomboy-like woman was named Guan Gusheng, and there was another woman, Watanabe, who was so beautiful, plus Wakamatsu, a fat man, Mr. Naota, and Minagawa Katsuhiko, a good-looking guy. Chapter 778 Valentine's Day Murder Case Part 1. They kept everyone waiting. Minagawa Katsuhiko's mother came out with food, followed by a little boy, Minagawa Katsuhiko's younger brother Minagawa Jin. "Oh, it's really bothering Auntie," Sonoko stood up and said. "It's nothing, you are all Kian's friends. Kian is usually very dull. I am very happy to have friends like you," Minagawa's mother said with a smile. "Stop talking, it's too noisy," Minagawa Katsuhiko said unhappily, took out a cigarette and lit one. The smile on Minagawa's mother's face froze. She forced a smile, and then walked towards the kitchen. "Can I stay here and play?" Minagawa Jin asked. "Ajin, go back to the room, don't get in the way here," Minagawa Katsuhiko said to Minagawa Jin. "The relationship between their families doesn't seem to be good," Yuanzi whispered close to Chen's ear. "Yuanzi, what are you talking about when you get so close?" Shaolin leaned over and asked in a low voice. For some reason, when Yuanzi approached Chen just now, Shaolin felt a little uncomfortable. "Yuanzi, you don't want 8 trigrams, don't you think we are embarrassed here? I regret coming to this place," Chen said leaning on the sofa. "Speaking of which, this is very boring. Why don't you come and perform a show? Straight, come out and perform." Minagawa Katsuhiko put down the can of beer in his hand and looked at Fatty Zadao. Zadao did not speak, and was silent. "Didn't you hear what I said?" Minagawa Katsuhiko looked at Zadao scorchingly. "Mr. Minagawa is going too far," Shaolin whispered towards Chen. "Don't worry about it so much, this octopus ball is delicious, Shaolin, you can try it." Chen used a fork to fork a ball and handed it to Shaolin's mouth. Shaolin's face was slightly yuhi, but she did not refuse, and opened her mouth to eat. "Yeah, Auntie's small balls are delicious, much better than mine." Shaolin nodded and said. "Chen, give me one too." Yuanzi grabbed Chen's arm. "Okay." Chen crossed again, and then handed it to Sonoko's mouth. When Wakamatsu, who was sitting across from him, saw it, his eyes were full of anger. This damn little white face, with 2 boats on his feet, really wanted to beat him. However, this kind of thinking is just thinking. If you really do it, your life will be lost. "Zadao, you pretended not to hear what I said, right?" Minagawa Katsuhiko looked at Zadao with an increasingly unhappy expression. In fact, Katsuhiko Minagawa has always looked down on Fatty Straight Road. At times like this, Wakamatsu usually comes to smooth the game, but where is Wakamatsu in the mood to smooth the game now? I'm not good at this," Zadao said submissively, with a hint of ruthlessness flashing in his eyes. Chen glanced at the fat man, and he could clearly perceive that this guy had murderous intent. But these have nothing to do with Chen. Even if he wants to kill, it has nothing to do with Chen. Chen is very indifferent to strangers. Even if he really wants to kill people under his nose, Chen will not stop him. "HMPH. Seeing you makes me feel uncomfortable." Minagawa Katsuhiko stood up in disgust and walked outside. "I'll take a look." Guan Gushang stood up and walked outside. "Chen, do you want to eat?" Sonoko faced Yuhi. Yuhi took out a gift box, then poked Chen's arm and asked. "What is this?" "Yes, it's chocolate. I made it myself." "Since you did it yourself, forget it. I'm afraid of being poisoned to death," Chen exaggeratedly said. "What? How could it be poisoned? I asked the servants at home and learned it all night to make it," Yuanzi said angrily. Shaolin stared blankly at this scene. How could she not know what it means to send chocolates on Valentine's Day? Touched her pocket with her hand, and there was also a piece of chocolate in her pocket. "Then I'll try it reluctantly." Chen took out a piece of chocolate and tasted it. The taste was okay. Sonoko's eyes lit up. "Chen actually ate my chocolate. Isn't it true that we are lovers?" "Hey, what are you thinking? Although I ate chocolate, it doesn't make any sense." Chen knocked Sonoko on the head to wake him up. "What?" Sonoko lowered his head in disappointment. Xiaolan was inexplicably relieved, and a smile appeared on her face. Soon Minagawa Katsuhiko came back, and Guan Gusheng also came back lost. Obviously it must be something that cannot be courted. Everyone, have some coffee and dessert. Kei Yan's mother came over with coffee and cake. Chen glanced at Qian's mother, and then continued to talk with Xiaolan and the others. I don't like coffee, especially coffee with stuff added, Chen said, looking at the coffee placed in front of him. Qian's mother shook her hand, raised her head and glanced at Chen, smiled stiffly, and then took the coffee away, cold sweat on her forehead. Added something, Sonoko asked. Chen leaned into Yuanzi's ear and whispered, I said it was poison, do you believe it? It's a lie. Sonoko didn't believe it at all. Kei Yan's mother put the coffee away, but her son Ajin ran over and took a sip from the cup. Kei Yan's mother frowned, then lowered her head and said, Don't drink anything, you won't be able to sleep at night, come, have a bite of cake. But mother, didn't you let me eat sweets? Sister Guan Gusheng gave me chocolate before, and you reprimanded me. Ajin looked at his mother and said, Don't worry, I won't reprimand your 483 this time. Kei Yan's mother fed Ajin the cake. Qian, why don't you eat cake? I don't like sweets. Minagawa Katsuhiko waved his hand, then took out a cigarette. Katsuhiko, stop smoking, it's not good for your health. Watanabe Kaomi said. Don't be long-winded. Minagawa Katsuhiko got angry and cut off the cigarette directly. I'm going outside to blow the air. Minagawa Katsuhiko stood up, took out the cigarette case and wanted to get another cigarette, but there was no more cigarettes. If you don't mind, just smoke me. Zeta stood up, took out his cigarette and handed it to Minagawa Katsuhiko. Minagawa Katsuhiko glanced at Fatty, didn't think much about it, and walked out with a cigarette. Well, Katsuhiko drank a lot of alcohol just now, I'm a little worried about him, I'll go take a look. Watanabe Yumi stood up and walked outside with chocolate. I seem to see his Death Star flashing. Chen whispered. But without Conan following, something happened this time. Am I also a god of death? No, I was a god of death before. Chen chuckled and shook his head. Coffee with cake is really good. I don't know why you don't drink coffee. Sonoko looked at Chen and said. Chen shook his head, he didn't drink coffee because of the problem of poison, not to mention that the antidote was right in front of him. Even if there was no antidote, the poison would not have been poisoned to death by adding 1,000 times the amount, but Chen didn't like drinking coffee. Chapter 779 Valentine's Day Murder Case Part 2. Ah! Hearing this scream from outside, Chen knew that Minagawa Katsuhiko was dead. What happened? Wakamatsu and others went out immediately, and then saw Minagawa Katsuhiko lying in the yard. The people who discovered Minagawa Katsuhiko's fall were Watanabe Kaomi and Katsuhiko's mother, and a chocolate block was still falling next to Minagawa Katsuhiko, and a burning cigarette was still in his hand. Why did Mr. Minagawa suddenly die? Xiaolan said, covering her mouth. This is obviously a murder, Xiaolan call the police. Chen said to Xiaolan. Oh, Xiaolan took out her phone and called the police immediately. Not long after, Officer Mumu came here, as well as Mori Kogoro and Conan, both of them came. It was Xiaolan who called Mori Kogoro and informed Mori Kogoro that Conan came with Mori Kogoro. After Conan saw Chen, his face was full of resentment. Today, he ran for a day in the cold weather, but he was also pitted. How the hell did this guy find out about the tracker? Obviously he hides it well. Conan was very puzzled, just like being scratched by a cat, but he couldn't ask directly, otherwise wouldn't the other party know that he placed the tracker? It is against the law to install a tracker on someone else's car without authorization. So some of Conan's actions are actually illegal. Maybe he is investigating things, but it cannot be denied that this is illegal. Conan, why are you staring at me like that? Is there something I offend you? Chen said with a smile. Looking at Chen's eyes that seemed to see through everything, Conan was sweating coldly on his back, feeling that under Chen's eyes, all the secrets were exposed. Looking at Chen-zan's blue eyes, Conan tilted his head, not daring to look at Chen. Conan, don't be rude. Shaolin educated Conan. Why are you here? Shouldn't it have anything to do with you? Sato Mikazu asked, looking at Chen. Maybe it's bad luck. Accidents happen everywhere I go, alas. I may also become a god of mold. Chen sighed helplessly. You should know something, right? Sato Mawako asked Chen. Chen is here, he should know something. Now Minagawa Katsuhiko is obviously homicide. Report to the police officer Mumu, the deceased died of poisoning. Miss Watanabe, you are saying that the deceased fell immediately after eating your chocolate, right? Officer Meguro asked Watanabe Yumi. That's obvious, the murderer is you. Mori Kogoro said, pointing to Watanabe Kaomi. Watanabe Kaomi's tears rolled in her eyes, and she said bitterly, I didn't kill Katsuhiko, how could I kill him? Humph. Usually prisoners say this, do you still want to argue? Said Kogoro Mori. Uncle Maori, do you think killing people should be so obvious? Don't you hide it, Chen said. I have to say that Maori Kogoro has a lot of ability to wrong people, and he deserves to be a confused detective. That's true, Chen boy is right, but I still think she is the culprit. Mori Kogoro still pointed at Watanabe Haomi. Just like what Chen Shaozi said, most people wouldn't believe that the prisoner would use such an obvious means, but it's dark under the lights, you just want to use this thinking of people to clear your name. Mori Kogoro's analysis is straightforward, and Officer Mumu also thinks it makes sense. As Minagawa Katsuhiko's mother, you are still cleaning the cup after he died, how big of a heart? Chen glanced at Katsuhiko's mother and said. Kei Yan's mother froze. After Jingchen said this, other people also felt that something was wrong, and Kei Yan's mother was too calm. There was a trace of sadness before, but now there is still sadness in her appearance. Officer Mumu found poison on Minagawa Katsuhiko's cigarette filter, and on the chocolate, the toxin was also tested. Sure enough, the chocolate is poisonous. Whose cigarette is this? Officer Mumu asked as he picked up a pack of cigarettes. Is it Minagawa Katsuhiko's own or yours? At this time, everyone turned their attention to Fatty and said straight. Cold sweat broke out on Zadao's face, and then he said with a heart, yes, I killed him, who made this guy look down on me all the time. And this guy actually lived up to Guan Gusheng, which is unforgivable. Chen looked at it, then leaned into Yuanzi's ear and whispered a few words. Sonoko glanced at Chen in surprise, then nodded, cleared his throat and said, actually, my great detective Suzuki Sonoko already knows who the real culprit is. Officer Muguro was wondering who was the murderer of Watanabe Miyuki and Zadao. Now that he heard Sonoko's words, he immediately looked over. Yuanzi, do you really know? Don't deceive everyone, Shaolin whispered beside Yuanzi. Don't worry, Chen has already told me the real murderer. Sonoko whispered to Shaolin with confidence on her face. Shaolin nodded and glanced at Chen, feeling a little uncomfortable in her heart. Why did Chen tell Yuanzi not to tell her? Don't you believe her? Sonoko, do you know who the murderer is? Officer Mumu asked politely. The identity of Sonoko, the police officer Mumu also knows, the second lady of the Suzuki Consortium, so she is very polite to Sonoko. Yes, the prisoner is Minagawa Katsuhiko's mother. Sonoko pointed at Minagawa Katsuhiko's mother. Me, how could I kill my own son? Minagawa's mother trembled. Officer Mumu, you can test the cup, there is still toxin left on the cup. You mean she poisoned the cup? No, she was poisoned by coffee. But this coffee is not drunk alone. Guan Gusheng said. There was poison in the coffee, but there was an antidote in the cake, and there was no antidote after drinking coffee. Only Minagawa Katsuhiko was alone. People think so. Also, the chocolate in your arms is about to melt. As the first person to arrive at the scene, you have dumped Watanabe's chocolate. You want to blame her. However, how could I kill my son? You are all just guessing. Minagawa's mother was already panicking, and now she wants to fight to the death. You are not Kei Yan's biological mother. His mother died in the car accident 7 years ago. Guan Gushang said suddenly. As Minagawa Katsuhiko's childhood sweetheart, Guan Gushang certainly knows this. Minagawa's mother squatted down and hugged Ah-jin, tears streaming from her eyes. I'm sorry, I want to keep this family and make Ah-jin happy. I have to get Katsuyan's inheritance. I'm sorry, Miss Watanabe. At this time, she had also confessed her guilt. In fact, the evidence was conclusive, and she could not escape if she did not confess her guilt. As for the reason for the murder, no one would listen to her explanation. Chapter 780 Angry Shaolin. We encountered a murder case on Valentine's Day. What kind of bad luck did we have? Should we go to the temple to ask for a talisman? On the way out, Sonoko complained. Indeed, a lot of things have happened during this period of time. Have you fallen for evil? Xiaolan shook her body. The talisman is useless, it's just a psychological comfort, Chen said. Soon he came to the downstairs of the Maori office, and instead of going up, he came to Chen's coffee shop. Chen, Xiaolan, I'm going back, someone has come to pick me up, Yuanzi said, looking at the car parked in front of the coffee shop. Yeah, goodbye Yuanzi, Xiaolan waved at Yuanzi. Boss, Xiaolan, what would you like to drink? Inomoto Azusa came over and asked. Bring me a glass of juice. I don't like coffee, Chen said to Azusa Inomoto. Just like Chen, now that I drink coffee, I'm afraid I won't be able to sleep at night, Xiaolan said with a slight smile. Okay, the juice has to be squeezed now, so I'll have to wait a moment. Azusa Inomoto nodded, and went to squeeze the juice. After only Chen and Xiaolan were left, Xiaolan suddenly became nervous, and her two hands were unconsciously mixed together. Xiaolan, you are very nervous. Is there something wrong? Chen asked Xiaolan. Ah, Xiaolan sat up straight. Haha 883 laughed twice and asked, is there any? It's not, but you have the word nervousness written on your face right now. Chen stared at Xiaolan and said. Xiaolan lowered her head, and after being silent for a while, she took out a delicately packaged gift box from her clothes pocket and handed it to Chen. This is for you, but don't get me wrong, I don't mean anything else. Chen took it, and then opened the gift box, which contained a piece of chocolate. Chen took the chocolate and glanced at Xiaolan with a half-smile. Xiaolan looked embarrassed and stood up and said, I don't mean anything else, I just want to invite you to taste the taste of the chocolate I made. I understand, I know very well, Xiaolan, why are you so excited? Sit down and talk. Chen asked Xiaolan to sit down. Looking at the chocolate in his hand, Chen split it into two halves, half of which was handed to Xiaolan. In that case, let's taste the chocolate you made together. Okay, Xiaolan took it and took a light bite. Sister Xiaolan, why are you here? Why don't you go up? Conan pushed open the door and walked in. Conan and Mori Kogoro just came back, and they came back in a police car. However, when Conan watched Chen and Xiaolan eating chocolate, he was stunned for a moment, as if he had suffered a bolt from the blue. Conan, where's my dad? Xiaolan's words made Conan sober, lowered his head and said, Uncle went up, so I went up first. What's wrong with Conan? Why is he so listless? Xiaolan said suspiciously. It's estimated that I've lost love, and my heart has been hit. Chen Wuliang smiled. After chatting with Xiaolan for a while, Xiaolan also left, and Chen drove home. Xiaolan came upstairs and looked at Mori Kogoro, who was already drunk. She was also very helpless. It is sad to have such a father. Xiaolan took a piece of clothing and put it on Mori Kogoro to prevent him from catching a cold, and then began to clean the beer cans on the table. Sister Xiaolan, I have something to ask you. Who tilde? Why are you here? Conan, you startled me. Xiaolan looked at Conan, who was sitting on the sofa. She didn't see Conan before, and because Conan didn't make a sound, Xiaolan thought Conan went back to her room. Conan, if you have any questions, just ask. Xiaolan put aside the rubbish that she had packed, and prepared to throw it away when she went out to buy groceries later. Well, Sister Shaolin, are you dating Hyuga-chen? When asked about this, Conan was very uneasy, for fear that Shaolin would say yes. Shaolin's face was slightly yuhi, and she said to Conan, "Don't ask this question, child, what are you asking this for?" "Sister Shaolin, I am curious, just tell me. Chen and I have no relationship, we are just very good friends," Shaolin said. She also thought the same in her heart. Maybe Shaolin had some good feelings in her heart, but she had not reached the level of boyfriend and girlfriend. "Oh, I'm relieved that way." Conan breathed a sigh of relief, a smirk on his face. "Relax what?" Looking at Shaolin's puzzled eyes, Conan quickly said, "It's nothing, I didn't say anything. Stay at home, don't run around, I'll go buy groceries and make dinner." Shaolan shook her head and said to him, "Sister Shaolin, Brother Shinyi asked me to tell you not to get too close to Hyuga-chen. He is very suspicious and doesn't know what his purpose is." Conan stopped Shaolin and said to Shaolin. Shaolin frowned slightly. "Conan, did Shinichi really tell you to tell me?" "That's right, it's what Brother Shinichi told me to say. Hyuga-chen is really suspicious." Conan became serious. Conan asked Dr. Ali to help investigate Guo Chen's information, but he did not find any useful information, and his past was all blank. "If he really said it, then please tell Conan to him. It's my business, and it has nothing to do with him." Shaolan lowered her head, walked out with the garbage, and closed the door heavily. Bump. Hearing the loud closing of the door, Conan's heart trembled. Shaolin seems to be really angry this time. The point is that Conan doesn't know why, and with his emotional intelligence, he doesn't know why. If it is Kudo Shinichi's identity to call Shaolin, Shaolin may not be angry. The key point is that Kudo Shinichi asked him to tell him. It has been more than a week since Kudo Shinichi became Conan, but Conan just made a phone call with Shaolin in Kudo Shinichi's voice. Under such circumstances, if Shaolin knew that Kudo Shinichi was in constant contact with Conan, how could she not be angry? What's more, in Shaolin's eyes, Chen is her good friend and her savior. Conan's words are obviously suspected of speaking ill of Chen, and Shaolin will of course be angry. "Little Conan, where is Shaolin? Let Shaolin cook, I'm going to starve to death." Mori Kogoro opened his eyes and asked Conan. "Sister Shaolin is out." "Going out, what are you doing out?" Kogoro Mori patted his head, then took out a bottle of beer again. Conan looked at Mori Kogoro, the corner of his mouth twitched, and he was still drinking. If Shaolin saw it, he would definitely be angry. No, Shaolin is already angry now. If she sees Kogoro Mori continuing to drink, she will definitely get angry. I don't know what will happen then. Conan glanced at Mori Kogoro, and then hid in his room. Shaolin should be back soon after shopping for food. He'd better stay away.